Welcome in to another episode of the Junkyard Dawgcast. I am your host, Benjamin Wolk. I'm joined by Jordan Hill, and it is our favorite show of the year. It is the signing day special. I don't know if it's a Stay Woke edition. I don't even know how we would describe it. It doesn't matter. It is the National Signing Day special for Georgia's 2026 recruiting class. It's something that we got a chance to do last year, and we really enjoyed the opportunity that we had to connect with a lot of Georgia's 2026 signees. We're going to have the opportunity to talk to a bunch of them throughout the course of this show today, just to kind of lay the land for everyone in terms of what to expect from this show. For the next 20 minutes or so, Jordan and I are going to break down Georgia's 2026 class, who they added, who they lost, what they finished with, how things really wrapped up as we tie the bow on Georgia's 2026 recruiting class. But the bulk of the show is going to, in about 20 minutes or so, we are going to start rapid fire and having members of Georgia's 2026 signing class join the show. We are excited for them. They are the reason why we do this show every single year, an opportunity for you, the fan, to be able to have a chance to chat with them right before they enroll at the University of Georgia. So that will really be the significant part of the show. Of course, Jordan, at the end, and bear in mind, this is going to be a longer show than normal because we want to have ample time to chat with a lot of these guys. We're going to take a final look at the predict-a-commit tally. We'll look at a predict-a-signee composite score tally. But, Jordan, I don't know about you. I'm very excited about this one.
I am being honest when I say this is my favorite show that we do. This is the second year we've done it. Ben, you did such a great job organizing it last year, and I have no doubt it'll be the same situation again this year. And yeah, we can maybe stall that predict to commit that count. I'm pushing for a recount. I haven't heard back from my lawyers yet, but this is going to be a long show. Maybe I'll hear from legal counsel before we get to that point. But no, seriously, this is a very fun show. I genuinely hope the people who listen enjoyed it as much as I do being a part of it. It's very fun. It's a great way to learn from these guys. And I have no doubt, I was very impressed by the 2025 class, just how good each of the guys were on there. And I'm expecting the same thing from this 2026 group.
No, I completely agree. This is always fun. I mean, like last year, we had Dominic Kelly on the show. And think about that. I mean, you looked at who we had on the show last year, Elijah Griffin, making plays. We had Dominic Kelly on the show, had an opportunity to make some plays throughout the course of this year. He wasn't able to be on the show on signing day, but he was our first ever real Stay Woke show guest. Talon Taylor came on after the fact as well. He was involved early on this season. It was great last year, and we know that if you're on this show this year, you're probably going to be making an impact for Georgia immediately, but over the next few years as well. All right, Jordan, let's talk about the recruiting class. Georgia signed on Wednesday. Keeping in mind, we are still on Thursday of the early signing period. There's nothing entirely ruling out that Georgia has other moves to make in the 2026 class, but we'll talk about it as it stands right now. And I wanted to start with the news of the day from Wednesday, and we'll start with Wednesday. We'll talk about some of the things that happened on Tuesday as well, but let's start with the news of the day from Wednesday. And even though it wasn't hugely surprising, if you're subscribing over to Dogs 24/7, it's still, I felt, had some moments that felt more like a traditional signing day, in that you were losing some guys coming into the day. Everything wasn't perfect with signatures coming in throughout the course of the day, but you got some really positive news and some signing day additions to the class. So I wanted to talk about those 3 signing day additions to the class. Let's start with 4-star interior offensive lineman Tyreek Jimson from Paulding County High School in Dallas, Georgia. I think you'll get a chance to talk. I don't want to promise any guests because I know that they have things that come up, and we know that things could change over the course of the next couple of hours. I think you're going to get to hear from Tyreek Jimson here later today, and he's someone that I think you should be really, really excited about. Committed to Kentucky earlier in his recruiting process, ends up decommitting from Kentucky because of the uncertainty around that coaching staff, which I think proved to be a pretty reasonable conclusion that Jemison and his family were making as they were going through that process. This is a guy that cut, and we're going to talk to him about this when he comes on the show, but this is a guy that was close to 400 pounds 2 years ago. He worked his tail off to get to where he's at, 315. College coaches told him that if you're not here at X, Y, and Z, you're not going to be able to sign to play big-time football the way that you want to. he took that personally. He didn't take it as a slight. He took it as fair coaching to say, look, this is what I have to accomplish to be able to get to where I want. He let Georgia coaches know earlier this week, and I think that there was very little doubt about it coming, as it was getting closer to signing day. But LSU made a late run at things when Lane Kiffin took over on that staff. And, anytime you're adding bodies on the offensive line, especially late in the cycle, you're going to have a lot of happy people in Athens.
No, I love the pickup for Georgia. I think you just kind of wondered about the LSU push, the momentum just from Lane Kiffin getting there and a little bit of excitement. I thought that was big. I'm always going to be biased, Ben. I like all the recruits that we get to meet and all the new guys, and you root for them to find success. If they're an in-state guy, man, that's just an easy way to be. I'm gonna be rooting for you if you are from Georgia, just like both of us.
Well, in a lot of cases with these inside guys, and I think this can be said about the other two guys that we're going to be talking about. There are a lot of cases where there's great football players in Georgia, and it is really hard if you are the Georgia coaching staff or personnel department to parse through all the best football players in the state of Georgia. And sometimes guys like Tyreek Jimson or Terrence Pinnock or Blake Stewart, I don't want to say can go overlooked by the Georgia coaching staff, but at certain points in their recruitments, based on what else is going on and how Georgia's board is formulated elsewhere, sometimes the communication or the mutual interest level between both parties isn't always the same. And some guys take that personally, and they don't ever really give Georgia a chance when Georgia circles back around. I think you've seen time and time again the number of players that have been successful at Georgia because they were patient and they waited. And when Georgia provided them the opportunity with the green light offer, they were ready to go and they wanted it as badly as anyone. That was the case with Jimison. Like I said, that was the case with Blake Stewart, the 4-star safety from Woodward Academy that committed to Georgia on Wednesday. This is someone who was very much on Georgia's radar throughout the process. He had a Georgia offer before he had even played really high school football. He was injured his sophomore year of high school with a knee injury, and he held a Georgia offer before his junior season began, which I think is a testament to what Georgia believed, the potential, the frame, the athletic background that this guy could turn into as a football player. He had an awesome junior season, but Georgia had, again, really started to put its safety board together, and I don't think he was the prioritized guy in the spring. And that's why you saw other schools, including Clemson, where he originally committed, have a little bit more success earlier in that recruitment. But as his senior season goes along, as Georgia realizes that it wants to make sure that the best defensive backs in Georgia are staying in Georgia, they looked at Blake Stewart's senior film and said, not only is this a guy that's underrated, not only is this a guy that Georgia might have even overlooked at times, this is a guy that Georgia now believes is going to be able to play day one in Athens in that secondary at safety because of the nature of what that depth chart is likely going to look like after this season. Miami had a chance. Vanderbilt really, really had a chance, and there were multiple members of his family that were very high on Vanderbilt when he immediately when he decommitted from Clemson. But this is another one that I think you got to tip the cap to Kirby Smart. And you could say this about Tyreek Green in this recruiting class as well. You could probably say this about Jordan Smith in this recruiting class. When Kirby Smart decides that he is going to get personally involved and he starts selling you on why you matter specifically as a prospect to him and where you fit into what the near future of Georgia can look like at safety, that was all that Blake Stewart needed to see. And there were a lot of good selling points coming from other places, but ultimately Kirby Smart's role and the true year one opportunity were the reasons why Blake Stewart is now a Georgia Bulldog.
I had some friends texting me about Blake Stewart and and kind of looking at some of the rankings, man, like, oh, I didn't know he was only a 3-star. I say this a ton with a lot of different positions, but if there was trust Georgia's evaluations with defensive backs. They're not going to take a guy that they are not high on. They're not going to take a guy they don't feel good about. And, I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to watch Blake Stewart's film, but I just think about in-state guys they've went and gotten. Javon Bullard, Chris Smith, a guy from Atlanta. I just think, man, trust them. They know what they're looking at. And like you said, Blake Stewart's a guy who may be on the field a lot sooner rather than later.
We had talked, and you wisely had this guy in your predict to commit class as well from earlier in the cycle, or just, I think it was our most recent episode, if I'm not mistaken. We had talked that Georgia was considering making you know exactly what just happened to me right there, Jordan, don't you? That Georgia was considering taking a third linebacker in the 2026 recruiting class. And we knew about Nick Abrams, who's been in the class and really the prime prize jewel of the class the entire time. We talked about Elijah Littlejohn, who you also had in your predict to commit class, that made his recent flip from Penn State not too long ago. The guy that Georgia has been hanging around on, and we've written about it a bunch over at Dogs 24/7, but we weren't sure exactly which way it was going to play out, was South Gwinnett linebacker Terrence Pinnock, who had been committed to Coastal Carolina for a while now. But when you're committed to Coastal Carolina and you're at a position that it feels like Georgia's trying to add depth at, but they don't quite have, we don't have a great picture on who it is, and you keep showing up to games. He was at the Bama game, and he was at the Texas game, and he was at the Charlotte game, and you start to add up and say, all right, there's something going on here that's more than what we have realized. And when you've got a guy that's a 6'3", 205 inside linebacker type with a frame that you can build upon, you really start to get interested in things. And Terrence added an offer from Georgia. I want to say it was November 30th. So it was the last day of November, just before the early signing window began. That was a pretty clear tell that this was a guy that was going to end up in Georgia's recruiting class, but he makes that official on Wednesday. He commits to Georgia. I believe he's going to be having his signing ceremony in like 2 hours, which is why he's not going to actually be able to be on our show today. We were hoping to be able to have him on, but once again, some way, somehow, Glenn Schumann pieces together deep, talented, with high ceiling linebacker classes time and time again. And that happens this year in a recruiting cycle where everything didn't always go his way. Yet I think he's still feeling really strongly about what his group looks like in the 2026 class.
Yeah, I was going to make that point. I know that things didn't play out the way some fans wanted with Tyler Atkinson. You had Shadarius Tootle. He winds up flipping back to Auburn. But I, with this class as a whole, Ben, I find myself looking at position groups and not so much like one guy, but like we were talking about Blake Stewart. I love what they got among the secondary, the defensive backs. It's very similar for me with the linebackers, getting Nick Abrams, Elijah Littlejohn, and then getting Pinnock too. I think that they've got a really good group, and the way I kind of look at the way you're building in a certain class, it always helps to get a few different guys. You look at the linebackers, guys with a few different traits. We talked about before that Littlejohn might be a guy that might play a little outside linebacker, might be an edge. I really like the additions. I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, another position, linebacker, you trust their evaluation. They wouldn't have taken Pinnock if they didn't feel good about him. And so, late addition, but one that I'll be interested in watching these next few years.
I always keep a close eye on those. The guys that Georgia likes and keeps quiet, and then they sign on signing day, and you're sort of like, wait a minute, who is that? Those are the ones that tend to make a name for themselves more than you would think.
If I'm remembering right, wasn't Eric Stokes?
He was. I think Javon Bullard was that way as well. So, I mean, it happens. I know, not just looking at Georgia, like I think about the one that I always think about with that story is Josh Jacobs, who ends up at Alabama, and he's like going up to his commitment ceremony fully thinking that he was going somewhere else, and not to downplay. I don't even remember who it was, but it was the levels of college football. He was going one place, and then Alabama's in an entirely different level. And I think he was going up and gets a call from Nick Saban when he's going on his stage that was like, hey, you've got the green light, and he ends up committing to Alabama. Like those are the ones, and then Josh Jacobs is who Josh Jacobs is now. Like those are the ones that make you say, all right, when these schools only have one spot left and you're the guy that they end up going and giving it to, there's certainly something to make of that.
And it just shows you that there's no exact science to this. I mean, that sometimes it literally comes down to the last spot. You look for guys and you hope that they hit, but sometimes that doesn't always happen.
As we know, everything couldn't have been perfect in the class, but one thing that did happen, and I don't know, we'll find out maybe. I don't know how close things got really heading in to signing day. But we have our first guest of the afternoon is going to be joining us, and it is a big one. Georgia fought hard to hold on to this one over home state Vanderbilt after he was once committed there. A longtime member of the 24/7 Sports Top 100 out of Haywood in Brownsville, Tennessee, Kaden Harris. Welcome to the show.
What's good, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining the show as well. I want to start here, and I know you've been committed to Georgia since the summer. What was the number one reason why you signed to be a Georgia Bulldog yesterday?
Yeah, development was big, so I want to come in and be developed and have my best chance at going to the league.
For you, I know there were a lot of key factors in it, and anytime that a defensive back's getting recruited by Georgia, Kirby Smart's going to be involved. I know that Dante Williams was really your lead recruiter. What was it about Georgia coaching staff, what they've proven or what they shared with you that made you want to make that decision to commit to Georgia way back when in June?
There's a lot of coaches on the staff that work with the DBs, so the ratio is like 1-7 with coaches that coach DBs. So that was big to me. I always be critiqued at practice and in the film room, all the things that I need to be a better version of myself. The coaches, they're very great coaches. Like, you see the products they put on the field. And I know if I just go handle my business and listen to them, then I'll be put in a good position.
So you committed to Vanderbilt in the spring, and then I think Dante Williams might have gone to see you like the day before or around that time as well. What was the message from him, really from when you committed to Vanderbilt through when you made your decision to Georgia in the summer that kept Georgia involved? And like, what were they sharing with you that made you still consider them that whole time?
Yeah, he made it clear that they'll still be recruiting me. The relationship was still going to be the same, and he wasn't going to stop until signing day.
It sounds like he might have needed to keep that going all the way till signing day. How close did it get right before?
Yeah, it got close. It was crunch time, of course. Probably a lot of recruits went through it, so had to go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Signing day is there's nothing like it. You got to experience it firsthand. When did you make that final decision? And when you finally relayed to Georgia, like, hey, I'm locking this thing in, just what was the reaction that you got from them?
Yeah, I was already locked in with Georgia, but just the little communication that we had with the other schools, had to talk with them back and forth. But like I said, I was already locked in. So the night before signing day, I really made the decision.
Kaden, first off, congratulations on signing with Georgia. I wanted to ask, I know a lot of fans are excited, going to be looking forward to watching you play. Is there a cornerback or a defensive back that you look at, whether it's in college or the NFL, and you say, I want to play like that guy. This is what I want to look like out there on the field?
Yeah, Surtain and Ramsey, for sure. I think they like some of the best corners to play, especially now. They some vets in the league, and they just put good stuff on tape, so I try to go and learn from them and take some of their game.
On that note, like when you're describing the type of game that you're bringing to Athens at cornerback, like what are you going to be bringing to Georgia's cornerback room?
Yeah, I'm coming in, learn a lot. I'm behind some really good guys that's going to go pro. So really stealing some things from them as well. But I'm going to come in, increase my physicality. Of course, we're playing in the ACC. Make sure I'm more of a for-sure tackler. I think I'm good with my speed and ball skills and twitching it. So that's some of the things outside of my game.
But before you got on here, Kaden, Ben and I were talking about some of the other defensive backs and that we really like the other DBs in this class that are coming to Georgia with you. Have you gotten to know any of those other guys? Any of those other guys you'll be working with in the secondary and learning right along with?
I got a chance to speak with several of them, but coming up here shortly when we get a chance to meet in person and go through the same experience together, I'm sure we're going to click on all cylinders.
Now, do you know yet when you're going to be getting to Athens?
I'm hoping it's here in December, around December 19th, but if not, it'll be, like the first week of January or something like that.
Early enrollee, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, looking at your stats, Kaden, obviously you are a proven defensive back. But man, you've made a lot of plays on offense. You're going to be talking to that offensive staff saying, hey, if you guys need me, I can go on the other side too.
Yeah, most definitely. Try to get some special teams or something like that if they let me.
I was going to say that too, actually. And I would reach out to your dad throughout the year wanting to get clips or stat updates or things like that. And he'd send me a bunch of clips, and obviously your defensive clips were great, but I think you had a game where you had like multiple 80-yard touchdowns. You had a bunch of kick returns. Like, how much are you going to plan on being in the ear of trying to at least get in on special teams?
Yeah, I'm going to for sure be in the ear. Really the quickest way I can get on the field and help the team out. That's what I'm going to go in and try to do.
All right, Kaden, it is SEC championship week. I know that, signing day was a big week. I know that everybody that lives in the Georgia world, they've got a big one that's coming up on Saturday as well. I'm going to put your feet to the fire. What's your prediction for the Georgia-Alabama game on Saturday?
Yeah, I predict us to come out with the dub, of course.
Of course.
Going to the playoff the right way.
Amen. All right, awesome. I love that. Well, Kaden, I really appreciate you for joining the show. Again, first and foremost, congratulations. I know it was a big day for you yesterday. Really appreciate you jumping on, chatting with Georgia fans about what they can expect from their top 100 corner.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, Jordan. Really enjoyed that from Kaden. I think he's going to look, Georgia has a type at corner. Georgia likes 6 foot plus that can run, long arms, great coverage skills. Basically every defensive back that Georgia has in this class has the ability to play offense, defense, special teams at the college level. And so I think that that's a true testament to what Georgia likes to look for from its defensive backs. Jordan, your first interactions with Kaden Harris, I think that we both are expecting quite a talent for the Bulldogs.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that my video is not lagging, Ben, because I was running into a little bit of that a minute ago. But no, I was very impressed. I think he's a guy that, you look at a lockdown corner. You look at a guy that you trust to go out there to make plays. And again, the point I kind of made there with Kaden, I just like what they've done with the secondary as a whole, getting a lot of defensive backs that are worth being excited for. This was a guy like he talked about. It was no lock he was coming to Georgia. So to beat out Vanderbilt, to hold off Vanderbilt after they'd already gotten his commitment earlier, I think that's something to be excited about. So I appreciate Kaden coming on, and I think that fans should be really excited about him.
I will know, I asked Kaden about Vanderbilt and did things get interesting at the end. Georgia was never worried. Like he said, he had been communicating that he was locked in with the Bulldogs really since he flipped to Georgia in June. And I think that when you look at Georgia's DB class, he's the only player that I think you can look at and say he will 100% be playing cornerback for Georgia. So I think that that's a telling sign. The fact that Georgia has that much interest in someone that may be the only cornerback in the class. Not to say that there aren't other guys in the class that can play cornerback, but again, just tells you a lot, in my opinion. We are about to have a couple other guests join the show here shortly, but I did want to kind of put a final touch on Georgia's 2026 signing class while we await. Kaden was, that's what you want to see, guys that are ahead of schedule. Kaden Harris was certainly ahead of schedule. And so we got an interview in earlier, a little bit earlier than we were expecting, but we've got many more to come. But right before we got on, I was going to say, not everything can be perfect on signing day. We know that right before signing day, Georgia lost 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis. We know that Georgia lost 4-star JUCO offensive tackle Jermaine Mitchell. We now know, just before this show started, that 3-star wide receiver Brady Marchese has flipped from Georgia to Michigan and signed with the Wolverines. So it couldn't all be perfect news on signing day or leading up to signing day. But I think that the bad news was relatively limited and based on how things have been trending with Jared Curtis, which we talked a ton about on our Tuesday show. So we don't need to rehash all of that. I will say when the class was complete, Georgia did end up having 10 decommitments, so I will call those guys out. Jared Curtis signs with Vanderbilt. Derek Cooper, running back, signs with Texas. Defensive lineman James Johnson signs with Texas. Wide receiver Vance Spafford signs with Miami. Linebacker Shadarius Tootle signs with Auburn. Offensive tackle Jermaine Mitchell signs with Arizona State. Defensive lineman Corey Howard signs with Alabama. Safety Keelan Jones signs with Georgia Tech. Defensive back Jontavius Wyman signs with Miami. And then Brady Marchese, wide receiver, signs with Michigan. All in all, Georgia has, correct my math real quick, Jordan, I believe that's 29 members of the class.
That sounds right, yeah.
That number is including Chase Calicut, who didn't sign during the early signing period. That's including the punter Wade Register. But just kind of going through that group. I mean, Georgia doesn't take a quarterback in the class. Georgia does take one running back in Jay Lamar. That's a position that I think you might see in the portal. Georgia only ends up signing 2 wide receivers. Maybe James Coley's still working behind the scenes to try and find a Brady Marchese replacement plan. But we also know that Georgia is not afraid of going to the portal there if they have to. Todd Hartley does what Todd Hartley does, and he signs not 1, not 2, but 3 really, really good tight ends. You know, Caden Prothro is that in-state freak of nature that you weren't going to be able to pass up. Lincoln Keys was the guy that Georgia just really liked from the very, very beginning. And then Braden Fogle, who I also expect to join the show later today, is someone that just wanted to be at Georgia. He just loved Georgia so badly. And, you know, I think that played a key role in him signing with the Dogs. On the offensive line, Georgia ends up signing a 5-person class. It looked like it was going to be a 6-person class before Jermaine Mitchell flipped, but that's Ekene Egboko, Tyreek Jimson, Graham Houston, Zack Lewis, and Zyke Helton. Ekene Egboko is really the tackle of the class. He's the one that probably has the chance. I don't want to say the chance for most immediate playing time because Dontrell Glover got the most immediate playing time, and he was a summer enrollee as an interior lineman. So I don't think that we can ever say definitively which offensive linemen are more likely to play year one, because a lot of that just is dictated by depth charts and injuries and rotation and all that stuff. But what I will say is 5 guys that I do think have a chance to play at Georgia earlier in their career. I mean, Ekene Egboko, like I said, speaks for itself in terms of the talent. Tyreek Jimson, I've already talked enough about Tyreek Jimson in terms of what he's going to bring to the class. Graham Houston was once described to me as the clear-cut best interior offensive lineman in the state of Georgia, and that it was a no-brainer that he would sign with Georgia because of that. He got in the class early, and then Zack Lewis and Zyke Helton were the 2, and I've told this story before. They had to work their tails off the opposite way that Tyreek Jimson did, where they were light. They weren't carrying weight. And schools like Georgia, like Stacey Searles, said, you've got to be at 290 plus. You've got to be at 295. You've got to be at 300. Whatever it was at certain moments in time, you've got to be here for you to be able to sign to play football in the SEC. They wanted to be at Georgia, and so they accomplished those things. I think that says a lot about those players. On the defensive line, well, actually, let me take a break there. Now that we've gone through that offense, George, how would you gauge this offensive class for Georgia, knowing, of course, a little bit of the steam got taken out of it at the quarterback position, and I guess with wide receiver earlier today, but it's a very, very well-rounded group with, I mean, there is not anyone that I can look in that group and say, I wonder if this dude's ever going to be able to play at Georgia. Like, every single one of those dudes has a chance.
Yeah, I was going to make this point talking about the class as a whole, but how differently you look at it, and we'll just stick with offense because that's what we're talking about, if they sign Jared Curtis. I think that, like, it's night and day the reaction you would see from people because they got their quarterback. And, you know, only getting 2 receivers I do find interesting, but I think you hit on it, Ben. Georgia is more than comfortable going out in the portal. And honestly, as someone who has followed this team the last few years, I kind of think it's probably wiser to go a little lighter. You get 2 high school guys and Ryan Mosley and Craig Dandridge you really like. Now you have room to go add from the portal, and it's not like it happens, but I'm never a fan of seeing a team sign 5 or 6 receivers and then they go recruit over them in the portal. That's just the way of the world, but I think that, you know, it's nice to see that they're going to sign a couple guys that I think have bright futures. And then the biggest thing, I mean, those offensive linemen, I think there's a lot to be excited about, starting with Ekene. Can't wait to see how he fits in and really his future. And offensive line just in general, I mean, even when we're talking about what the draft decisions for the current Georgia team will be. I think offensive line is a very interesting group to follow the next 2-3 months. And we learned this year, do not count out a freshman offensive lineman. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody, where you go, I mean, just the adjustment is so much harder. There's no way these guys can play. I did want to make this point too. We talked about the difference in the guys needing to add weight versus like a Tyreek Jimson who had to cut weight. I think people take for granted how hard that is to put on weight. I think people hear it and you're like, man, I'd love to have that problem. It's a lot harder than it sounds, and those guys deserve credit because it's not just eating burgers and sitting around. You still have to be athletic. They're not going to just look at your weight and say, okay, you're good to go. If that affects how you're playing, you're not going to wind up at a place like Georgia.
Going to the defensive side of the ball, and I think this is a stout defensive class for a couple of reasons. And it could. I'm not saying that there weren't some opportunities for some other guys even to be in the class. But you look at the defensive line. Georgia signs 5-star Valden Stone. He is the 5-star in Georgia's 2026 recruiting class. And then you've got a group of guys that I think are being undervalued outside of Georgia, and those guys are IMG Academy defensive lineman Preston Kerry, West Forsyth defensive lineman PJ Dean, Norcross defensive lineman Carter Lucky, and then Clark Central defensive lineman Anthony Lennon Jr. Few of those guys I think are going to have an opportunity. Several of those guys actually I think are going to have a chance to join the show here later today. But this is a group. There's versatility factor. There's guys that can play inside and outside. There's guys that are speed rushers. There's guys that are power rushers. There's guys that are gap fillers. I think you just put together a really, really good defensive line class. And when you put that together with what you did at outside linebacker and you signed Kamari Brooks, the top outside, I know where he's ranked with 24/7 Sports, and I am not challenging our scouting team in any respect on that. Kamari Brooks was Georgia's number one outside linebacker target in the 2026 recruiting class. This is who Chidera Uzo-Diribe wanted from the very beginning. He made that very clear to Kamari Brooks. Kamari Brooks understood that very much. He made a decision between Georgia and Alabama, ultimately signing with Georgia. And when you put those 6 guys together, that's a really, really strong defensive front. And then you throw in, we've already talked about the linebacker room, Nick Abrams, Elijah Littlejohn, Terrence Pennick. The front 7 in this class, I know there's going to be people that might complain about star power from time to time, but spot me a person in that group that has no chance of playing at Georgia. You can't. There's a lot of dudes that are going to have chances early on in their careers in the front 7.
Yeah, really excited to watch those guys in action. And this kind of carries over, we mentioned Akene a few minutes ago, but just really interested to watch the legacy guys or the guys that have brothers that are playing. Akene is an example with Nnamdi on offense, but on defense, Carter Lucky, getting there to play with Lawson, what he's able to do. PJ Dean, whose older brother Jared Wilson played at Georgia. It's not enough just to have that family connection. You got to prove it. Those guys are standout guys, and then talking to, man, I'm just really excited to watch Nick Abrams. I think this dude is going to be a monster, and the trend of adding big-time linebackers continues at Georgia, but I don't think there was ever any doubt about that.
At defensive back, I'm going to kind of split these guys up into 3 categories. So at cornerback, I mentioned Kaden Harris, who we've already gotten a chance to talk to, is really the cornerback in the class, the one guy that you can positionally fit at cornerback, no questions asked. But Georgia's also taking Justice Fitzpatrick out of St. Thomas Aquinas. Minka Fitzpatrick's younger brother, maybe made some people sweat on the outside by not signing until late into the night yesterday, and it wasn't even announced until Thursday. Georgia was never worried about it. They knew he was signing the whole time, and they had a strong confidence level in that. Someone that could probably play multiple positions in the defensive backfield, but someone that Georgia was recruiting as a cornerback. At safety, Blake Stewart, Tyreek Green, Zach Fort. I think that there's a conversation to be had about who among those might be safeties versus playing nickel. I think that Tyreek Green and Zach Fort could both be box safety or nickel types. Blake Stewart could probably play either safety position. I think that's a big reason why Georgia wanted to bring him in. And then there's what I would describe as the combo guys, which I know I've already said some guys that you might feel fall into that category. But by combo guys, I mean people that could play cornerback at Georgia or people that could play safety at Georgia. And I think that there's two in this class. That's Jordan Smith out of Houston County, who is one of the most underrated players, not necessarily rankings wise, but in terms of how much people are talking about him in the Georgia world. I think that Jordan Smith deserves some more flowers. And then Chase Calicut, someone who hasn't signed yet, but it seems like there's an opportunity for him to be able to sign in the near future. Or not in the immediate near future, but at some point, in the 2026 recruiting class. He was recruited as a corner. I could see him playing a bunch of different spots in the defensive backfield. And of course, we can't leave the specialists out. Georgia does sign a punter, Wade Register, and then kicker Heron Zurikat, which I'm butchering, I'm sure, and I apologize. Look, everyone knows that Georgia recruits kickers as well as they recruit any other position. This guy is considered by Cole's Kicking as the number one kicker in the country. That shouldn't surprise anyone, given what you've seen Peyton Woodring do over the last 3 years. And I think that that's just the way of the world. That's how Kirby Smart's going to recruit the kicker position just as much as he's going to recruit the quarterback position going forward.
I wanted to shout that out, and I apologize. I don't remember who it was I saw on Twitter that was looking at some of the kicking numbers really pretty much from the entirety of Kirby's time at Georgia. I mean, they have had outstanding kickers, with Rodrigo, Jack Podlesny. They've had guys they could count on, and I think that's something that there's part of me that just wonders if Kirby went through so many adventures at Alabama. Like the running joke was always, well, they don't have a kicker. If he was just like, that's never happening in my program. Well, we're going to recruit well at every position, but we will not let that happen. I did want to say this too, because you talked about that secondary. Going through, I wrote a bunch of breakdowns of a lot of the guys as they committed over the course of this cycle. I don't know if there's a guy in this class, Ben, I'm more excited about than Justice Fitzpatrick. I mean, I think that this guy is super talented. I think... I try to keep in mind, let's try to separate that his older brother is Minkah Fitzpatrick, but this dude, super impressive. I think he's going to fit right in as a corner for Georgia. I think he's going to be a guy that winds up getting in the mix fairly quickly in what, even starting in 2026 is going to be a pretty young secondary.
Again, I don't want to say that Georgia's class is complete because I think there's the opportunity that Georgia's trying to do a few more things. We know when you lose your quarterback the day before signing day and you lose a wide receiver on the second day of signing period, you can't rule out that there might be some other moves that Georgia's making behind the scenes. But as it stands right now, Georgia has the number 5 ranked recruiting class in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. That's number 2 in the SEC behind only Alabama. That's 22 4 stars, 23 4 stars plus 5 stars, which is more total commits than Alabama has. So Georgia's sitting behind them, but they've got a deep, deep, deep recruiting class. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to have a string of guys coming on the show. We are excited for you all to talk about them. They are the stars of the signing day episode. So when we come back from this break, look forward to who we have next. All right, this is going to be our first returning guest that we've had on the show today, and we're going to have a couple others later in the show as well, but one of the best guests that we've ever had, and so we knew that we had to get him back on. Already a fan favorite around Georgia after beating out Oregon, Michigan, Georgia holding on. We really appreciate the fact that you enjoyed us enough the first time that you wanted to come back. Out of McDonough School in Owings Mill, Maryland, Nick Abrams, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I mean, I got to start there. I mean, what were you thinking? What's bringing you back to this show of all shows?
Yeah, I just love the University of Georgia. And, I love talking about my experience and how I ended up here. And so as many times I can do it is the more the merrier. So I'm just excited to be back and answering your questions. So.
Awesome. Well, let's start there. And some of this may be redundant for you and I. It might even be redundant for some people that listen to the show that you were on earlier in the year. But I know that people start to lock in really on the new class once signing day arrives. So let the people know, what is the number one reason why you signed to be a Georgia Bulldog?
Yeah, I start from the top. Coach Smart, just, there's a lot of, in the day of college football, it's a lot of, here for a check, here, just to play early, all this and that. But that man, I put my trust in my recruitment. I put my trust in my development, and I trust his ability to coach me to the best of my ability to be the best player I can be. And then Coach Shu, obviously he's the best linebacker coach in the country, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. The scheme is so linebacker friendly. The linebacker rich heritage that we have, just the numerous first round picks. Like this year's gonna be CJ, next year's CC. So just it's crazy. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Now, I know the last time that you were on the show, you said you're going to be back in Sanford for the Texas game and that Georgia's going to win that game because you're going to be there, and you knew it in your heart of hearts. What can you tell us about the experience in Sanford that night? Obviously, it was a fun atmosphere, but just the game, the experience, and then, of course, being there for the win.
Yeah, I'd say the Texas game was insane. Like, the atmosphere, it was so loud. Like, I couldn't even hear myself think or myself talk. So just being able to play in that atmosphere is something I've always dreamed of, and I can't wait for that for me to be on that stage and be on that field, hyping y'all fans up and being able to make plays on that field. Now,
again, another sort of callback to last episode. I think we talked then about your relationship with the linebacker commit Shadarius Tootle. I think bad timing. I think the episode dropped like the day that he flipped to Auburn. So sorry to Shadarius that it played out that way, but he flipped. Now Georgia has added Elijah Littlejohn, added Terrence Pinnock yesterday as well. What's been the process already with you getting to know those guys? And as you've mentioned, like Chris Cole and Justin Williams, they've got that bond. CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, they've got that bond. What have you all already started doing there?
Yeah, I think since the beginning, as soon as Coach Shu told me that Elijah was committing, I asked for his number, and we've been texting, talking back ever since. We were in a group chat with me, Kaden Prothrow, and Braden Fogle, just chopping it up, thinking about things we're going to add to our room and stuff like that. So we've been locked in. I'm excited to get to know Terrence. Obviously, he committed yesterday, but, just reaching out to him, letting him know, like, if he has any questions, anything, me being kind of like, I guess the OG now. I'm like the OG of the group, but, asking if they had any questions, stuff where I can learn from them, they can learn from me, just anything, so we can be the best linebacker class in the country. So
that's a good group chat to be a part of. Braden will be on the show later today. Kaden big timed us a little bit because he's got a state playoff game tomorrow and he's traveling, so that's okay. But no, that sounds. I've noticed you all, that trio, when you've been at games, y'all have been spending a lot of time together. How did that form?
Yeah, it was funny because the first person really to hit me up was Braden. And, ever since then, like, we've been like close. We've been always talking about we're going to room together. So, and then him being not from Georgia, him being from like Ohio, it's kind of like, I guess, similar. We're kind of a little far away. So we had to kind of pick our games where we were going to see Georgia kind of strategically. So, and then while we were at the Alabama game, we were talking, and then Kaden just, I don't know, he just joined in the conversation. Next thing we're like, man, this dude cool. So, he came in, and we've been boys ever since. It's like a trio. And then we were looking for another roommate, and then Elijah came along, so that just made the squad. So now it was just all of us, and we've been gaming on Instagram Live, on TikTok Live, just vibing and chilling and getting to know each other. So it's been exciting getting to know all of them.
Who would have thought Kaden was trying to get in with the whole out-of-state crew?
That's what I'm saying. I thought he was going to hang with some guys in Georgia, but it shows just how, like, the brotherhood that we have, and how much we're just all like-minded, even if we're from halfway across the country or up north or something like that. Just, we all love football. We all love the University of Georgia, and we all want to win. So,
Nick, congratulations. I got to ask the follow-up. You said you guys were gaming. So what are you guys playing?
We've been playing Fortnite. I think me and Craig Dangerous, we were playing Fortnite like for a minute a couple of nights ago. We might hop on tonight, but we all been playing Fortnite. I know Kaden and Braden, they all play Call of Duty. I don't have it. They were trying to get me into it. I'm like, nah, I'll stick to Fortnite. I like building and stuff like that. But yeah, we've been playing Fortnite a lot.
Rumor has it y'all been playing Fortnite and doing some TikTok lives as well. Maybe, generating some interest around the Georgia world too.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, I wanted to follow up on something you talked about the last time you were on this show with Ben, and it was Roquan Smith kind of being around. What's that been like? And really my follow-up, have you heard from him since you made it official, since you officially signed with Georgia?
Yeah, Roquan's been great. I've been asking him a lot of questions. He's been answering all my questions. And it's kind of crazy because he's so busy being one of the best linebackers in the NFL and having a season where, they're 6-6 right now, trying to find their way out of this kind of little rough patch. But he's been answering my question. He hasn't hit me up yet, but I'm sure when he gets some free time, he'll definitely hit me up. But I'm just excited to ask him about his experience at Georgia and keep talking with him, just picking his brain. When you have a resource like that, there's no use for you not to use it. So I'm just excited for that.
For those people that read my weekly Future Dog Watch article that has, what everybody has done weekly throughout the season, they know that you're liable to fill any part of the stat sheet at any point in time throughout the course of the game. What do you feel like you're bringing as a player to Georgia's linebacker room?
Something different. I feel like Georgia's always had that linebacker that can rush the passer, that could play coverage, that could stop the run. But I feel like I can do all that at a high level. That's kind of why they regard me at such a high level, and kind of why a lot of schools did, being able to, playing pass covers, cover tight ends, cover running backs, cover slot receivers, and then, line up against your best off the tackle and dominate using speed or power, and then, stop the run and get TFLs in the backfield. It's just, I can do anything on the football field. That's why I pride myself on the versatility fact, and I'm excited to show y'all on the field next year and for years to come.
This is going back a couple years, Nick, but I wanted to ask, because this was another Maryland guy that came to Georgia, played linebacker, really successful. Did you have any familiarity with Jamon Dumas-Johnson? Was that anybody you were kind of familiar with also being from Maryland?
Not really, if I'm being honest, but I definitely do my research since he's a name that you brought up.
I got to ask you this, Nick. I know the last time you were at the Georgia-Alabama game, it didn't go the way that you would have wanted it to go. They've got a big one coming up on Saturday for the SEC championship. I've got a feeling I know where you're going with this one, but give me your game prediction for Saturday versus Alabama.
Yeah, I got you. So like I've been saying to everyone, it's going to be 24-21 Georgia. Obviously the game, we couldn't get a stop in the first half. And I'm getting some stops in the second half, but didn't get where it mattered most. But I feel like this team has turned a corner defensively. They've been lights out since that point. Since I think it was the Ole Miss game, they've been lights out, and ever since I feel like they've been gelling together. Obviously, they're a young team, and next year going to be even younger, so it's going to be crazy. But I feel like they're gelling at the right moment. They're peaking at the right moment, and I feel like they're going to do what they need to do to get that win and go back-to-back SEC champions. So.
Awesome. Well, Nick, as always, thank you for coming on the show earlier in the year. Jordan, looks like Jordan's got something else for you too.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to ask this, and Ben, let's try to do this for the next guys coming up. Before you get out of here, shout out the people that helped you get to this moment. Parents, family, coaches, the folks you want to shout out, because as special as I'm sure signing was for you, I'm sure that they enjoyed it a whole lot too.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to thank God for everything, and I do all things through him. That's how he blessed me with this talent, the body that I'm able to perform in, not being able to be injured, all that stuff. So thank God for him. And then my parents just taking me places, taking me everywhere around the country that I wanted to go visit, and finally settling on Georgia. My little brother for pushing me, and he's going to be up next in a couple years, so I'm excited for that. And then my coach at McDonough, Coach Sule, his guidance in my recruitment, just being that unwavering just support, being able to tell me what the real things was really going on instead of just the fluff that comes with recruiting. And then I want to thank my trainer, Coach Courtney Green, because without him, I don't know where I'd be. Man, he got me right, and I thank him for that profusely because, before I went to him, I was just some scrawny kid, didn't really know what I was going to be, trying to be a linebacker, but was playing receiver and stuff like that. He got me right, built my body up, got me to where I needed to be my junior year, and I took off. So thankful for him. And then all my family, all my friends, the support they've given me. And, I love all y'all. And I just hope y'all come see me in Sanford Stadium or wherever and come see me play next year and for years to come. So thank y'all.
There's no doubt that they will. For those of you that are watching on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, wherever it is, we've got Nick's social media up there. Go shoot him a follow as well. He's going to be – everyone loves linebackers at the University of Georgia, and so you know that Nick Abrams is going to be a fan favorite. Nick, we really appreciate you joining us. When do you get to Athens?
That date isn't set yet, but I'm thinking – I don't know.
You're an early enrollee though, right?
But I'm definitely leaving early, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for joining us, and congratulations on your big day yesterday.
Thank you. Appreciate it for having me.
We're going to keep things humming along here. Look, there's a high bar. Nick Abrams, that's a high bar for the rest of the show. I know that they've got it in them, but Nick Abrams is going to be somebody that this fan base loves. I mean, he is quite a football player. So as of right now, I guess officially the only two-time guests of the show. We tried to, we didn't want to overextend anyone throughout the course of the year. We were trying to give new, fresh faces, but now we got to signing day. We were like, anybody who wants to come on, please come on. And so we really do appreciate Nick. But like I said, we're humming along, and this thing is not stopping for the foreseeable future. This next guy that's coming up, he probably could have just driven over to my home studio for an in-person interview if he wanted to, but we're ecstatic to have him on either way. This is a 4-time state champion, football, basketball, the only outside linebacker that Georgia ever really pursued in the 2026 recruiting class. Out of North Oconee, right in Georgia's backyard. Kamari Brooks, welcome back to the show.
I can't even hear you right now.
Oh, no. Can you hear me now? All right, we'll get Kamari. We'll get Kamari back on in a second. It's okay. It's not. It can't be perfect on this show. We're not. We're not ESPN over here. So, Kamari, you got me now.
Good.
All right. Do you want me to do that glowing introduction again? Did you miss it?
I did actually.
All right, I'm gonna do it again. Jordan, take him away. I'm redoing it. Take him away. I'm gonna redo his intro. This guy probably could have just driven over to my house for this in-person interview, but we're ecstatic to have him either way. 4-time state champion in football and in basketball. He's the only edge that Georgia really recruited in this 2026 recruiting class. Out of North Oconee, right in Georgia's backyard. Kamari Brooks, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Very blessed to be on the show. My second time being on here, so thank you for having me again.
I was gonna say that. I was like, we've now got a little. We just had
Nick Abrams. So.
Nick Abrams on as our first returning guest. Now we've got another returning guest in Kamari Brooks. So I really, really appreciate you. We've talked about this a bunch, but what is the number one reason that you would say you signed to be a Georgia Bulldog yesterday?
Number one reason, I would say Coach Drube and the relationship that we built throughout the whole process. And I've told people that many a times. He's the main reason that I would say I committed to. Obviously, they're a good educational program. They have the pedigree, but Drube's relationship with me and the way that he recruited me throughout the whole process was the biggest reason I ended up signing to the Georgia Bulldogs.
For you yesterday, I mean, again, it's not like there were any surprises. You knew you were going to be signing with Georgia, and it was really just a matter of putting pen to paper. But you have family around, you got friends, former teammates. I saw Landon Roldan was there for your ceremony yesterday as well. What did it mean to you to finalize this decision that you've had for a long, long time?
It meant a lot. I don't think it's really set in for me yet that I'm going to have the opportunity to go and be around the Georgia Bulldogs and a team that I've dreamed of playing with for a long time. But very excited to have all my family there. My brother came back. Grandma was there. The rest of my extended family was there to watch me on my big day and be there to celebrate me in a moment that a lot of people don't get to be able to achieve. So just blessed to be able to have the opportunity.
This isn't really a new conversation for us, but again, like I've said for a couple of other guys, like some fans tune in around signing day to really start learning as much as possible about the new group.
Yep.
Georgia communicated to you the whole time that you were really the guy that they wanted at that position in the class. Can you just sort of tell the story of how Daribe went through the process of communicating that to you and how that influenced your ultimate decision?
Like I've said most times, it came from after that state championship game, as I would say, I don't know if this is on his part, but I felt like he kind of ramped up with recruitment, and ever since then, he kind of told me from then, like he showed me times that he was kind of tell guys that he's kind of waiting on my commitment, and he waited the whole time. He stayed on a little 6 month stretch of not really recruiting other guys and only recruiting me, and that's not a common thing that you see because at the end of the day, you never know. I could have ended up going to somewhere else, but at the end, I didn't. But he had to recruit other guys. He couldn't have just lock out other guys, but that's what he chose to do in the end. He chose to kind of tell guys that he's waiting on my commitment, and to be able to see that and a coach that believes in you that much, I feel like at the end of the day, he believes in you and he's going to do the best for you in the long run.
I got to ask you this: how's the hip doing?
Hip's doing good. Been rehabbing for a couple of months. Got off crutches, I think, 2 weeks ago now. So hip's been rehabbing good.
I will say I was taking, you might have even seen me. I was taking some photos before the Texas game. I didn't want to put the photos of you out on your crutches out there. So I didn't want you to have that image out there, but what's the rehab process look like? And do you have a timeline yet for when you're going to be able to be full go on things?
Probably sometime in like early January, late December, probably sometime around then to where I'll probably end up getting back. Starting to just, ramp it up probably these next couple of weeks when kind of they have a little free time over there, probably start ramping it up, doing more stuff, running, jumping, getting into more of that stuff as the time progresses.
Kamari, congratulations, and sticking with that. What have you kind of learned about yourself through this rehab process and just what it's taken to try to work your way back to 100%?
It's probably the third time I've done this. I got hurt obviously my freshman year in basketball, and I had to rehab and come back and play through that. So I kind of been through experience before, kind of having to miss time, rehab back, get back to your thing. But I never missed a game, so that was my first time ever missing a game, not being able to be with my teammates. But I couldn't sat down and just lay down and be like, oh, I'm done. I'm not going to be out here no more and be able to help my teammates. But that was the biggest thing. My leadership growth, even though my play on the field wasn't there, my leadership growth for my team. I stayed out there, came to meetings, helped them out whenever they needed, coached up when they asked me questions. And that's probably the biggest thing I've seen with myself, that even when I'm not playing, I also be a leader of my vocal.
Your mom says that no matter where you go, you always find a basketball court. I think even on your official visit, you were in Ramsey getting shots up on your Georgia official visit. Have you been able to get any shots up while you've been going through any of this?
Last time I touched the basketball was probably this summer. I played one-on-one one of my guys. I ain't rusty though. I can still get in there.
I was going to say, I might have a chance now. You might be giving me an opportunity.
Yeah, if I still needed to, I can go put up some points if I needed to. But last game I played was our state championship game last year, so I haven't played basketball in a while. I've just been focused on football.
Cool. With Alabama coming up, and I know this isn't a new conversation for you, but when you made your decision, it really came down to Georgia and Alabama. And of course, those are the two powerhouses of the Southeastern Conference. For those to be the two programs that identified you as the guy that they wanted, I'm sure was an honor. But what was it about those two schools that made them your decision? And was there any reason in particular that you felt Georgia tipped the scales?
To be honest, there were two programs that really made me, I guess, their number one prospect at the time. Those two schools really made it known that I was one of their guys that they wanted, and I was the top on their list throughout the whole process. So that's ended up why they're being my two at the end. But really what set us apart is the way they recruited at the end of the day. And the way their program, the way they developed edges, Curry Smart seeing first-round picks, and a lot of them go through that program. They just had two leave, and Jalen Walker and Michael Williams. So I feel like the development piece really came into it also because at the end of the day, everybody wants to get to the NFL. But they also set you up past life with all that. So I feel like at the end of the day, it came down to Drew Raby's recruiting and the way they develop players around there. They send guys to the league every single year, and Drew Raby recruited me very, very hard and made me feel like a priority the whole time.
Now I got to ask, game prediction, what happens on Saturday?
Got to get a dub this time. You got in a rematch. Hard to beat a good team twice. Everybody knows that. So it's going to be a great game. They're obviously still a great opponent. Both teams kind of banged up a little bit. Got some injuries on both sides. You're going to see a physical football game like it always in the SEC. Like they say, every game's a playoff game. So I would say some people's playoff stakes are on display here this week with Bama having 2 losses. And if they beat them, they probably be out. So they're going to give their best foot forward. We're going to give our best effort. But in the end, I think we come out on top by a touchdown late in the game.
Kamari, I got to ask, since you're getting to kind of stay home, being the hometown kid going to Georgia, is there a local restaurant that you're like, man, I'm happy I'm still gonna be able to go eat over there? It might even be mom's cooking. Anything that you're still looking forward to since you're staying home?
Probably Rafferty's. I go there a lot up on that highway. That's probably my favorite restaurant. I used to go there for all my birthdays when I was younger. Still go there now, eat with some of my friends. So I would say that's the one that I'm most excited about, still being here and being able to eat every day.
I'll ask what Jordan asked last time as well. it's signing day. It's a big day for you, but I know it's a big day for a lot of other people around you too. Like, who do you want to give the credit to that helped you get to this point in your career?
A lot of people. Yeah, I feel like there's not one person. Obviously, I'm gonna say my mom, my brother, my grandma, those three that are say at the top. But everybody that helped me between coaches, friends, family. There's a lot of people that kind of put this in. Trainers to help me develop my game throughout my career. So a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's my mom, grandma, my brother. Those three are really my rock. Those three are the ones that always by my side when I need anything. And if I ever ask for them anything, they're gonna sacrifice their time and stuff they have going on to obviously be there for me. But at the end of the day, everybody kind of helped me to this journey. I appreciate all of them, from coaches to being disciplined in me and instilling that in me and throughout the whole process. So everybody that really helped me, I appreciate all of them.
Well, Kamari, thank you for joining the show last time. Thank you for joining the show this time. I know the Georgia fans are really excited about what you're going to be bringing to Chidera Uzo-Diribe's room. I hope you find a good couch to be able to enjoy that Georgia-Alabama game on Saturday, and best of luck with the rest of that rehab process as well.
Thank you. Good luck to y'all too.
Jordan, we're not. I don't think the folks know when I said that we're not going to be stopping. We're not going to be stopping. We have got it lined up here for the foreseeable future. This next guest, somehow this is a first-time guest, which is a failure on my end because he should have been on the show long before this. I don't know if there ever was much recruiting drama in this one. Luck didn't just strike twice in Athens, Georgia. It struck, you could say, multiple times. I mean, it's 5 times, 3, all sorts of times. This is one of the best defensive linemen in the state of Georgia, out of Norcross, in Norcross, Georgia, Carter Lucky. Welcome to the show.
Hey there, how's it going?
Awesome to have you. I guess I'll start there. Was there ever any recruiting drama with you, or was this always a foregone conclusion?
I mean, it wasn't always a foregone conclusion. I still wanted to take my visits, but Georgia, getting up on campus, it just feels like home, and it always kind of has. Even since like freshman year, sophomore years, going into my sophomore years when they offered me, and in like kind of towards the middle of my junior year, I knew that Georgia was the place that I wanted to be.
It's been discussed a lot, obviously, with your family members that have played for Georgia, your dad at Georgia, what Lawson has been able to do over his career, especially this season. There were always going to be factors that were playing in Georgia's favor. But for you, what's the number one reason that you would say it ended up this way?
I would say that my relationship with Coach Scott is the main reason that I went to Georgia. I think me and Coach Scott's personalities align. And he, out of any coach that I've met, he's the one I want to play for. I want to be developed by him. I love the team. I've been around the team a lot. The locker room, I enjoy the locker room environment. And that's kind of the main thing for me. Like I really appreciate the things that Coach Scott has done in the recruiting process for me, in just trying to help me get better at the sport, even though I'm not even there yet.
I think that's a perfect way to go into what I was going to ask next. And, when we've talked really throughout your process, early on in your process, like it wasn't always recruiting with Coach Scott. It was him basically treating you as a player that he already had, coaching you on your game, getting you up to speed on what things are. Like, what has he told you about your game and what he feels like your role is going to be over the next few years in Athens?
I'm going to be playing a little bit of inside and both outside. So I'll probably line up anywhere on the defensive line. I'm going to do whatever I can to get on the field as early as possible. So I'm going to learn every position. I'm going to just work my way onto the field. That's going to be my goal. I'm willing to do whatever on the defensive line.
Carter, congratulations on signing. I want to ask, as someone who's had a lot of family go to Georgia, obviously your brother's there now, do you have favorite Georgia memories just growing up, whether that was a favorite player, favorite games you remember, anything like that?
To be honest, I didn't watch much football when I was growing up. I just started watching football a couple of years ago. I know that might sound crazy, but I wasn't one of those kids that grew up watching the Rose Bowl. I never experienced that, honestly. But I mean, in the past recent years, like I would say, Jalen Carter. I think he's a great role model. I mean, he's a monster. I mean that. So I want to be able to I mean, I would say that's my favorite Georgia player, I guess, other than Lawson,
I
obviously.
was gonna say that was a good caveat there. I was like, that's quite a thing to say, Carter. I will say on that note though, like, you know, how much did Lawson? Did he ever try and recruit you? Did he ever feel like he had to?
Absolutely not. He was one of the main people telling me to follow my heart. And he said he didn't just automatically choose Georgia. Like he took his trips and he had other options that he was really considering going to. And I had the same deal, but he always told me whatever felt like home and whatever felt right. Whatever God was telling me, honestly. And that's where I'm at.
I know we texted after his 3-touchdown game and you were just like, I'm just so happy for him. But what was that like for the family getting to watch him and what he did that day?
Oh my gosh. That was one of the most proud moments I've ever been of a family member. I mean, that was so incredible to watch. I mean, he didn't have a touchdown the whole year. That was his first one. And then I saw the first one. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm already happy. He gets another one. Oh my gosh. And then obviously the third one happened. And then I was like, yeah, that's crazy. So I talked to him after the game and everything. I went and hung out with him a little bit. It was a good time.
Carter, I wanted to ask, a few weeks ago, College Game Day did a really great feature on your family and Lawson and Cannon. What's it been like hearing the reaction? And was there anyone who like reached out or shared the story that you were like, wow, like that is really cool to see that reaction?
Yeah. I saw Sarkisian go up to Lawson after the game. I asked him what he said. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but he said he was a little, like, it brought him to tears in the morning. Like, and a lot of people had the same thoughts. I mean, it's a sad story. But that was probably the coolest part for me. Just having that kind of recognition. Or also Tom Brady. Tom Brady posted on Twitter about our family, which is unbelievable. I mean, we're so grateful for that he's using his resources to try to help us out and help other people out that are struggling. But those are the two main ones that I really noticed and appreciated.
Just following up on that, is there a way that anyone else at home is able to help in any capacity? I think that Tom Brady was sharing a link to something as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like, can you share with people with that?
I think that was the Fox G1 Syndrome Foundation. So Fox G1 it's a gene in the brain, and that's, if you're missing it, you got the Fox G1 syndrome. My little brother has that, obviously. So I'm pretty sure if you just donate to that foundation, it helps all kids like him, just advancing research and stuff like that.
I'll gotta say this too. Whenever you or Lawson talk about Cannon, like the way that you all light up, obviously anytime that Lawson scores a touchdown, you can feel that. So I was glad to see that story be told. Your mom is almost like a game day superstar at this point. Cannon too, of course.
Yes. Cannon's our little heartbeat, honestly. I mean, he's who runs the family. Everyone says he's the best lucky around here. So, I mean, like, if you just look around the house, Cannon's everywhere. I mean, like, that's who we do it for. I wake up every morning, and on my home screen, I say, I swear on everything, it says, do it for Kenny. That's what it says, because that's what we do it for. I mean, me and Lawson, we do it for the people that can't play, because what would Cannon be able to do if he was blessed with the same abilities that we were? You know what I mean? He could have been the next Barry Sanders, but unfortunately, he was born the way he was. So now we got to do it for him.
Amen to that. And Jordan has shared in the YouTube channel and the Facebook channel the link to that Fox G1 fund as well.
And
Thank
if you're absolutely. And if you are listening to this podcast, there will also be the link there on Apple and also on Spotify.
All right, Carter, let's close it down with a game prediction. Georgia plays Alabama on Saturday. There's probably nobody that's watched more Georgia games over the last however many couple of years of your recruitment than you have. What are we predicting for Saturday?
I'm just going to say 21-14 Georgia.
There
I'm
you
just
go.
gonna.
There you
Hold
go.
on.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, don't want to do too much. I think it's going to be a close game no matter what. But it's a flip of a coin, honestly.
Amazing. Well, Carter, again, appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate you for telling your story. I'm really excited for you and the family that, you all are going to still be at Georgia games for a long, long time here. So thanks again for joining us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. The defensive line train keeps on moving here, Jordan, and we've got one that I got to admit, this next guest, I think he's the only player in the entire class that threw me a curveball, and I was completely not expecting him to be committing to Georgia the day that he was committing. But the more that you talk to him, the more you realize, was there ever really that much of a doubt? Out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, by way of St. Anthony's in New York, Preston Kerry, defensive lineman, welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
Awesome, Preston. I got to start there. Going back to the summer when you made your decision, I think you had everybody not really knowing which way. Did you know that you had everybody kind of in the dark and everybody was like, we don't actually know where he's going, and how much you surprised folks when you committed to Georgia way back in the summer?
Yes, sir. So I actually don't know if anybody even knew this, but I actually didn't even tell Coach Smart or Coach Trey or Coach Schumann. They found out through the live stream actually as well. And then after I obviously spoke with them, but yeah, I wanted to just keep it very private because I didn't want any outside noise to kind of change the way I was going to make my decision. And it was really just between me and my father. And it really just came down to breakfast Monday morning, like the day of my commitment, and coming up to it months before it, I would have thought that I would have known where I was going like a week before or so. But as it got closer to it, there were so many factors coming into play. So I just told my father, I was like, let's just decide over breakfast and I'll tell you what my decision is Monday morning. And, it just kind of came down to it. I really, the last straw was like, even the morning of, and I know it sounds crazy, but even the morning of, I was kind of debating, and then I really didn't know where there was still gray area, and I called one of my old trainers from my old school, St. Anthony's, and I spoke to him a little bit. His name's Gus, and he kind of just gave me clarity, just reflecting, talking about the Lord a little, and that, if I'm trying to be taken away from an idea with trying to compare too many things, I probably already know where I want to go. And with that, I kind of knew right away, and then, yeah, I just told my dad, George's home.
Now, again, like you said, you realized that Georgia was home. What would you say is the number one reason why you wanted to sign with the Georgia Bulldogs?
It's so hard to give the number one reason.
Yeah, give me a bunch of reasons.
Yeah, I think that the main reason for me is I'm always looking for a challenge and a step up. And, that's why I transferred to IMG and did 2 years there, as well as playing with New York, because I've always looked for a step up. So obviously, like when I was in 8th grade, going to play on varsity and start on varsity, going into 9th grade, started on varsity for 2 years and on one of the top, if not the top program, like in the Northeast. And then, the next step up after my sophomore season was like, where can I go? So IMG, they were recruiting me, and I took the step up to go there. And then kind of, I feel like, on the college level, the next step up from IMG would be like an elite school like Georgia, because I always kind of go through the process with getting better where like I need to get punched in the mouth first before I can, build callus and become an even better player. And that's what you're going to get at Georgia. Every day in practice, you're going to be going against, the top guys in the country. And that's what I had become used to at IMG already. So I just felt like it's what I needed at the college level. And then obviously outside of that, it checked every box with, relationships, family, being able to be a great coach and tell me what I need to do better, but also acknowledging what I already do good and, complimenting that. There's so many reasons. I mean, I can sit here for 30 minutes and explain all the reasons, but, obviously I love the South too. I have some family from Texas and all over the South, and I just, it was just home. It became an easy decision for me. Like the next morning after, there was no afterthought. Like I was like, thank God I picked Georgia because, that's where I should have been all along.
So when they didn't know and they were in the dark going into that decision, they finally find out. What was that first reaction that you got from Kirby Smart and Trey Scott?
Yeah, I think I got my phone back like 10 minutes after, and it was just blown up with texts and their support. And, I had been texting them in a group chat way before.
We might have lost Preston briefly, but if he's able to rejoin us, we will chat with him there. I will say I do want him to jump back on because I want to hear his take on Zach Fort and Jaden Wade as well, because I know that he's going to have firsthand experience on that. We lost you, but you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it cut out, but
No, you're good. It's okay.
saying,
We're not some like $1 million TV show or anything like that.
All
We're
right.
just having a good
It's all
time.
right. It's all right. I apologize that I'm traveling down from IMG to Miami right now in the car too, so I know the service is probably bad. I'm actually going to sign with Drew Rosenhaus. He's based out of Miami, so.
There we go.
Back to what we were talking about. Basically, yeah. So Kirby was super excited. Obviously, Coach Trey and Coach Schumann, and I just building such a good relationship with them since I was getting recruited in 8th grade, and especially over that summer leading up to my commitment. I had been working my butt off, kind of cut down. I was 323 in the spring, and cut down to like a lean 295, and was doing everything they wanted me to do to become an elite player going into college. So they were ecstatic, and the relationship's only been built stronger since then. So.
Like I said, you threw a curveball. I don't think a lot of people knew, but then it's funny because when I went back, I remember vividly talking to you on the phone when I was out at a high school football game when Trey Scott was actually out to see another defensive lineman. And I remember talking to you, and I got off the phone and saying, man, I don't know if anyone's ever given a better Georgia recruiting pitch for the development and the coaching that you're getting from in that Georgia defensive line room than what you said to me on that phone call. And that was probably a month before you actually committed to Georgia. What is it about the relationship with Trey Scott and with what their proven track record of development? What is it that had you so convinced about Georgia?
Yeah, I think just like I said, it's a complete balance of, Trey can totally get on you and tell you what you need to do better and coach you up. But he also, shows love, and he has a genuine relationship where it's super easy to, want to be coached by him and commit to the G. Like, only certain people will go there, and Kirby says it all the time. Like, there's only certain people that come to Georgia, and they really got to love football and buy into what they're doing here at Georgia, which is building a championship team every single year in, year out. And you also got to be a certain type of player to want that, but you need to have a certain type of relationship with a coach as well. And it was super easy for me to build that with Coach Scott because, like I said, he just had a perfect balance of loving up, but also coaching me up and telling me what I need to do better and what I already do good to be a first-round draft pick, just like all the other guys he's already developed to be that.
You mentioned that you're driving down from IMG Academy right now. Georgia, of course, you're not the only IMG Academy guy that signed with Georgia yesterday. Zach Fort does as well at safety. Georgia fans are also very excited about the potential of Jaden Wade at quarterback in the future. You've seen both of those guys as much as anyone. What can you say about what Georgia has with Jaden Wade and Zach Fort, who has been on the show before as well?
Yeah, Zach is, a dog. I think they were talking about it on his signee post or something, like he's a heat-seeking missile or something like that. And that couldn't be a better description. Like, he is not the loudest. Like, he's only really going to get loud if he makes a play or something like that. But, you'll definitely feel his presence. He's a great leader, and he's very mature. It's easy to handle business with him. And, kind of obviously, as football players, we have to be super locked in and know what we're doing on the field. And, I always try to lead the defensive line room and knowing what we got to do on the field, and knowing the plays, and just echoing it when we're out there. And he's definitely one of those guys too. He makes sure that everyone knows what they're doing, and he's a great leader. And then Jaden Wade, obviously, I've said great things about before, but even as a young guy, he's very quiet because he's just a younger guy, but he also still leads, and he just does everything he needs to. He makes the plays. He's very poised. Has a great arm. I mean, and a great accuracy. And I couldn't say enough about how great those two guys are. And, I'm happy that they're part of the family. So.
Preston, congratulations on signing. I got to ask, what's the biggest difference in being up in New York and then just the experience you've had so far in Athens, Georgia? What's it like comparing those two places?
Yeah, it's hard to compare them just because they're so different culturally and then just location wise, but I just think it's more specifically in Athens. It's just more of a melting pot. You get all different types of people and all different type of cultures coming together, especially football wise, just to make a great football program. And that's what I love about Athens, and I love about the program. It's, everybody comes from a different background and, a different way of life, but we all have one goal, and that's to win a national championship and, win an SEC championship and, just be a great program. So it's obviously two different places, but like I said, I love the South, so I'm happy I chose Georgia.
All right, Preston, one last thing before we let you go and you can get down to business down there in South Florida. Game prediction for the SEC championship game on Saturday. Who you got?
I got the Georgia Bulldogs, and I hope they win 80-0. I don't want Bama to put up a single touchdown. I could be a realist on here and try to predict the real score, but I don't know. It gets me hyped up, making me want to play, and that's what I would say to the boys if I could say it to them. Like, go whip their behinds. You know what I mean? So.
Well, this might be Alabama's last chance to score because you're not there. So they may try to take advantage before Preston gets to Georgia.
Yep. No, I can't wait to get to work there and develop. And I'm excited. I'm so grateful to be a Georgia Bulldog.
Will you be early enrolling?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with all the business that you're about to get down to down there in South Florida as well. We appreciate you, and congratulations again for yesterday.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Go Dogs.
The defensive line hour is what we are in right now. I don't know. I can't remember if I planned it this way or not, but it's worked out perfectly. We've got Carter Lucky. We've got Preston Kerry. And now we've got another guy who I could probably walk out my front door right now and he could hear my interview questions from where he is. Another proud legacy in the 2026 recruiting class out of Clark Central in Athens, Georgia. Anthony Lunnan Jr., AJ for short. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Nice to be here.
AJ, like we talked about a little bit earlier with, Carter, he has family that are tied to Georgia and he ended up at Georgia. I know your dad obviously plays at Georgia. For you to sign with Georgia, what was the emotional feeling like to actually be able to finalize that yesterday?
So definitely it was just an overall gratefulness because, of course, I'm from Athens, Georgia. I'm from right here, grew up going to the games. My recruitment started fairly late. So when I got that UGA offer, it was like, okay, like I know the work that I put in pays off. And the city's proud of me. I'm proud of myself, but there's a lot of work to do. So I'm very excited.
For you, the number one reason why you're a Georgia Bulldog, what is that?
I would definitely say, like, if we're going into the sport, the main reason that I chose UGA was because they're letting me be more versatile with my position. They're letting me, when I come in, find out what I'm best at on the defensive line, playing anything from a 3 technique to a 9 technique, letting me grow into my body. And then, of course, outside of that, just the energy. Like, I'm from Athens. I don't think I've been to another stadium where the impulse is like that and everybody is like on third down and everybody's hyped for sure.
You mentioned like you're coming in, you could play a bunch of different spots at Georgia. They want to figure out how you fit best into the defense. For you, what game are you bringing to Georgia and what can Georgia fans expect from you at your position?
Yes, sir. So I always describe the way I play football as slippery and very just much hustling towards the ball. Like when I go through the line of scrimmage, I'm always trying to get off a block or, peek and get out. And if the ball's down the field, I'm always chasing after it. That's what you can always expect from me. I make sure I don't loaf as much as I can. And that's my game.
Does your dad ever throw on like old game film or old clips or anything just to make you remember that he still got it or used to have it?
My dad, actually, he does the opposite. He always tells me that there's no reason to brag about your game when somebody else would do it for you, which is something that I really live by too, because somebody else will always tell me how good my dad was or pull up a clip and show me. So he never really brags about it or shows me anything, but I've definitely seen a lot.
AJ, congratulations on signing. I want to start here, and I got a bad feeling you're going to make me feel very old, but as someone who has grown up in Athens following Georgia, who have been some of your favorite players over the years or some of your favorite memories that you've got to see from the Bulldogs?
I can definitely say my first favorite football player was Todd Gurley, 100%. Just one of the best running backs to come through UGA. As a kid, you watch him just run through everybody, get through the line of scrimmage. I would definitely say, and then recently, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, of course, those people, those have been like the people I've really watched.
I just want to point out that Ben and I were both in college when Todd Gurley played. So you were successful. You made us feel old. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Okay.
no doubt about it. All right, so AJ, you obviously committed before the football season started. You've gotten to spend a lot of time at Georgia football games this year. What's that experience been like for you? Not just enjoying Georgia and Sanford Stadium the way that you had growing up, but getting to do it from the perspective that you have now.
Yes, sir. So I would definitely say that it's very different watching the game as a recruit than somebody in the stands. Like when you're in the stands, everybody's around you, like you're feeling their energy. But like it's different because when you're a recruit, you're gonna show all this love. And it's like I'm from this city. Like I was in the other people's places and now I'm here about to be a player. I actually made a post when I was a kid in the stands. I can show it right here. It says I'm going to be playing this UGA weather one day, and it was cold outside, and now I was watching from a recruit, and I'm going to be playing in it.
How old is the post?
This is 2019, so this was 6 years ago.
That's manifesting destiny right there.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask, you had your high school teammate last year, Hezekiah Millender. He ends up signing with Georgia late last cycle. I know the two of you have been in communication throughout this process. He's obviously been a part of Georgia's quarterback room for this season. What has he shared with you about what the Georgia experience is like and what you should expect once you actually get there?
Yes, sir. I can say the biggest thing Hezekiah has told me was as long as I come here, don't fall into the wrong crowd and put that work in, I'll be successful. Like there's obviously trials and tribulations, things you go through. It's different from high school, of course. But he says as long as I'm focused on the right things, I'll be good at UGA.
I want to ask you, AJ, going back, I'm thinking about watching when you committed and hearing Coach Perno, who is a big deal, a Georgia legend, a guy that has achieved a lot. What's the influence like of Coach Perno? And if you got any stories with Coach you want to share, go for it.
Coach Perno, he's definitely one of a kind character. I always hear about the 85 Clark Central team who won the state championship. And Perno tells us this not to show us that, they made it out, but he's telling us this because he's showing us the culture of Clark Central, the past. So that's something Perno is really big on. Like we have a culture, he knows it's possible, so he's leading us to do the right thing. That's the biggest thing with Coach Perno.
AJ, I should have asked this earlier. How's rehab going?
It's going great. I'm 3 months in right now. Doctor said I was looking really well. There's no fluid in my knee anymore, which he said was ahead of schedule actual. So I'll be ready by spring ball.
That's what I was going to ask. You're an early enrollee, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you know what your time frame is for when you're going to actually be able to be on the field for anything?
So I'll be running as soon as I get to UGA, January, and then by spring ball, I should be fully healthy.
I asked Kamari Brooks this because he's kind of going through a rehab too. What have you learned about yourself having to go through this and just the work it takes to get back?
So what I've learned about myself is because I got hurt in the scrimmage game. So before the season even started, I pushed through it for 2 games and I couldn't do it anymore. So I was just basically a coach for the rest of the season. My teammates call me GA Low because that's basically what I played my role as when I got hurt. So I've definitely built a different sense of leadership because I can say I was less vocal my 11th grade year than I wanted to be. And I came into that role after I got hurt. So I'm definitely a better leader.
I've been asking everybody this, AJ, and I'm holding everyone's feet to the fire. You gotta get the right answer here. What's the score of the Georgia-Alabama game on Saturday, and who wins?
Man, I love the Dogs. Come on now. Honestly, I want a shutout. I want the D-line to go crazy. Like I know it's a game. I'm not going. Shoot. No, 100-0. I don't even want to. I'm not going to throw out a score like that. But I love the Dogs.
That's 2 defensive linemen in a row. Preston Kerry says that it's going to be 80-0. You say it's going to be 100-0. If Georgia's getting this defensive line in the future, other teams got something to worry about.
Yes, sir.
AJ, I wanted to ask you real quick because I asked the same thing to Kamari. You get to stay local. What's like a restaurant that you're like, man, I'm glad I'm going to be able to keep eating? And also might just be mama's cooking. Like, what are we happy that we're still going to have access to in college?
Oh, I can definitely say that's hard because there's a few good restaurants downtown. But I'm just gonna say after practice, I love stopping by Willie's. It's like I think it's better than Chipotle, burritos, all of that. I'll stop at Willie's, get me a bowl. That's what I'm gonna be cool with staying and eating.
Well, everything was great until you started dogging on Barbaritos. So I think that now might be the time that we got to let you go. But so on a serious note, AJ, thank you again for joining. Obviously, appreciate you for letting us follow your journey along the way. Congratulations for signing yesterday, and best of luck as you get to, I guess, you drive down the street to Athens.
Yes, sir.
I did not realize this when we planned this out. I don't know how I didn't realize this. We're getting a fourth defensive lineman in a row right here. And this is another returning guest. And we are very thrilled to have this one. He's actually the most recent guest that we had prior to this show. And this is the now highest ranked signee in Georgia's 2026 recruiting class. This is the first ever 5-star international prospect out of Blue Ridge School in Virginia by way of Malmö, Sweden. I tried to get it right this time. Valden Stone, welcome to the show.
How we doing?
Thanks for coming back. And I've got something for you here that I'm going to rep it the rest of the show. I had this last time, and when you brought it up, I was like, I should run and go do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pulling out the Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the Ibrahimovic jersey on right now. I had to rep for Sweden right here when you came on the show. But thank you again for joining us, Valden.
Nah, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, no problem.
I know we're not too far removed from us talking just a few weeks ago, but things have changed since then. We made you a 5-star. I know that you're not worried about all that things, but becoming the first ever 5-star international prospect, what does that mean to you in your journey?
It feels great. I just want to stay humble with it. I just want to keep my head low, keep working. The stars, they matter, but I want to just stay humble with it, keep developing, just keep getting better.
Now,
it means a lot being the first international 5-star. I just want to just keep working and stay humble.
Now, again, we just talked a few weeks ago, so this might not be a news flash for me or some people that are listening, but for others it might be. What is the number one reason why you signed to be a Georgia Bulldog?
The development. I feel like my talents and my skills is gonna get put and face that Georgia. I'm gonna get better at Georgia. I'm gonna face good people and meet good people and be around good people, which is going to make me better. So the development part, that's the number one reason I chose Georgia.
We don't have to rehash the whole story about, your combine in Germany in 2023 and finally getting on the radar, everything. For anyone that hasn't heard that, go listen to the last show. He was awesome. And we went in way more in depth with Valden than we're going to be able to go in this one. But for you to finally put pen to paper after that whole journey, what was that moment like for you yesterday?
It was amazing. I feel like everything that I've worked for and done for throughout the years, it's finally paid off. It was especially for me, my family and friends. Just the commitment and the signing, like yesterday, it just solidified everything. And I'm extremely happy and grateful, especially to PPI and Brandon Collier.
Yeah, shout out to for those that don't know, and I know we talked about it last time, but I think it's an important thing to shout out. You mentioned Brandon Collier, you mentioned the PPI Recruits program. Tell us a little bit about that and how he helped you see out your dream the way that he has up to this point.
So PPI is basically just like a international recruiting agency for international players, across the world. So Brandon Collier, he helped me and others get offers and just get recruited and the exposure coming out of Europe. So that's Brandon Collier and that's PPI.
Valden, congratulations on signing. I want to ask, take me back to who was the first offer you got and remind me just what that feeling was like, given how wild your journey's been to get that first offer.
My first offer was back in 2023. I think it was Nebraska. They first offered me. It was when I was back in Sweden playing club football. So it was over a phone call. So it didn't feel real at first. It didn't feel real. But, just getting an offer, like a Nebraska offer at that time, everything just felt special. It was I was happy. My family was proud. I really felt that was the beginning of something big. So just getting the first offer just solidified everything. I knew it was going to be something big.
Fans will see 5-star and they'll be excited about it no matter what. But I'll tell people, ignore the rankings, ignore all that, throw on the film. That means a million times more than the 5-star ranking is going to be. When you throw on the film, Valden, what are you doing at the defensive line position that you think that Georgia liked so much and why Georgia fans should be so excited?
I'm a versatile guy. I'm dominant. I'm versatile. I can play all around the D-line. I'm very explosive, very versatile. I've got a lot of aggressive, I'm very aggressive and very, very, very physical. I can hit somebody and I'm going to really do it. I'm going to really do it to somebody. And I'm really I'm hard. I go hard every play.
Now, you were at the Texas game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked right before that Texas game, so I haven't got a chance to get your feedback on what that environment was like, what being around the locker room after a win was like. What did you think of that experience?
Man, that was an amazing experience. The atmosphere was it was amazing. It was the best atmosphere I've seen so far. The Bama game was a good atmosphere too, but just getting the win and solidifying the deal that game, that really just made everything special. I don't regret my decision at all. I really love it down at Georgia. It's perfect.
Valden, you're following another international prospect at Georgia with JJ already being there.
Yeah.
What's it like having him you can kind of lean on? How excited are you to get to be able to play on that defensive line with him?
Nah, JJ my dog. Me and him, we camped back in 2024. So, just reuniting with him is special. We have a good relationship with Brandon Collier as well. So, we're friends before. So just joining him at Georgia is going to be special. It's going to be special.
I've been asking everyone. Well, let me ask you this first. Do you know when you're going to get to Georgia yet?
Oh, I'm planning to leave December 19th. So I need I need day around there, December 19th, December 20th, something like that.
What are you most looking forward to about actually getting to Georgia and starting the experience?
I'm ready for practices, man. I'm ready to be a dog, a full-on dog, every day, just rep the logo and really just get better every day. Just to get better every day, that's really what I want to do. To get better every day and be a dog. That's what I'm about.
Valden, you showed up all of us, and specifically Ben, on that last episode that you were on when you were talking about the different languages you speak. But I was wondering if there was something in Swedish and German you could give us that's the equivalent to a Go Bulldogs. Is there anything you want to show out there?
Swedish and German is very different from Swedish. I don't really speak German a lot. I don't speak German at all. But Swedish, it's I could probably say kom igen, nu kör vi. That means let's go, go dogs. That's something that's similar, but not to German though. German is very hard. I don't know German. you have to ask JJ that one.
You heard my Swedish attempts last time, so I'm probably gonna have to run that back what you just said there a few times to be able to master that one. But I'm gonna try. All right, I have been asking everyone about the SEC championship game that's coming up on Saturday. Georgia versus Alabama didn't go right for Georgia the first time. What do you think happens on Saturday against Alabama?
All right, Saturday, that's redemption night. That's where we really show our true colors, man. That's where the dogs come out. That's where the dogs eat. Georgia, we won the SEC championship. We won it last year. We better go win it again. The guys got to stay composed. They just got to win and play ball. Ball don't lie.
Valden, once again, well, I know we shouted out Brandon Collier. We shouted out PPI recruits. I know yesterday was a big day for a lot of people in your orbit. Who all do you want to shout out now that you have, seen out at least part of your dream up to this point?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, just anybody that you would like to thank or shout out for helping you get to the point where you're seeing out your dream.
Man, I want to shout out PPI and Brandon Collier, but I want to especially shout out my mom. She's been a very help for me throughout my career. She's really given me that emotional support. I want to give it thanks to God. God, He's been there for me. He's really done it for me, and I'm blessed. I get to be here, committed to Georgia from Sweden. it's special. I want to thank my coaches too at Blue Ridge, Coach Anderson, Coach Perrier. I want to thank Coach Alexander at Christ School, and my coaches back home in Sweden, Patrick Lundqvist. I want to just thank everybody back home in Sweden. They've really been my number one fans. Dennis, my coach when I was younger, he's really been somebody that's been my mentor. So I want to thank everybody from back home. And that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, shout out to you for everything that you did to accomplish what you've done up to this point. Best of luck as you move on to Athens. We really appreciate you for coming on the show both times. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, y'all welcome. Thank you.
Man, it's not going to stop, Jordan. I promise you. Even if I think it's going to stop, it's not going to stop, man. We're going along here. We've had a few. I mentioned it earlier. We've had a few signees in the class that were scheduled to be on, but then they weren't able to make it because they've got some playoff schedules. Caden Prothrows, Ike Helton, Ryan Mosley. We love those guys at Dogs 24/7. We do. We get it. But that didn't stop this guy from making it work. And he's still grinding away for a semifinal game on Friday night as well. Out of North Gwinnett, in my hometown, Swanee, Georgia, Zack Lewis, welcome to the show.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me on. This is a blessing, man. Great opportunity.
For sure. And I'll start here. I mentioned there were some guys over at Carrollton that were planning to be on the show. They're not here now. I know you've got a big one against Carrollton. Has there been any trash talk between you and Ryan Mosley, or maybe more specifically Ike Helton this week?
Not this week. We haven't. We had a little bit of chatter at the Charlotte game, Georgia-Charlotte, but we haven't really said much like online or anything about it. But there'll definitely be some trash talk tomorrow at the game for sure.
Well, nonetheless, we do appreciate it. I know it's a big week for y'all. I know y'all are working your tail off over North Gwinnett to get the dub on Friday. So I appreciate you giving us some of your time. It might sound silly because you're a guy that's loved Georgia for as long as you can remember. But what would you say is the number one reason why you signed with Georgia yesterday?
I mean, the coaches, first of all, they feel like an extension of family. They brought me in kind of recruiting me pretty hard towards the end of my recruitment. And, I mean, they're the best to do it. And if I'm going to, achieve my dreams of getting to the NFL one day, I know these are the coaches that are going to help me do that. And yeah.
I mean, I know I've asked you this before, but you grew up, or talked about sort of this topic before. You grew up a Georgia fan. I know your mom's like a religious Georgia content follower. Like she loves the Dogs as much as anyone. So yesterday was a dream come true for multiple of you in your family. What was the moment actually like, just kind of being there with your family and finalizing that?
It was awesome. It was a blessing from God. No other school but Georgia is where we wanted to be. And yeah, so it was awesome. It was a great feeling finally signing that paper and confirming that I'm going to be a Dog.
She probably doesn't want you to share this, but did Mom cry yesterday?
Oh yeah. I got teared up a little bit too, seeing my mom cry. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, she had a little bit of waterworks going on.
I can imagine so.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, congratulations on signing. I got to do this as considering that you grew up a Georgia fan, and we did this a few minutes ago, and it made Ben and I feel very old. But tell me about like some of your favorite Georgia players, especially when you were younger. Some of the guys that you were really caught your attention.
First off, David Andrews. That's like my favorite player of all time. Obviously Aaron Murray. Some of the guys like Chris Conley, Mecole Hardman, kind of when I got up around like elementary school, kind of watched those guys. And then obviously like Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Todd Gurley especially, those guys were kind of the guys I pay attention to a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, we're two for two, Ben, on the recruits.
I mean, the David Andrews didn't feel as sharp of a point, but then when I realized he's saying Chris Conley, and I took journalism classes at Georgia with Chris Conley, it's making me realize, how far along things have gotten up to this point. So thank you for that, Zach.
No problem.
I do want to, along the lines of what Jordan just asked as well, like you being a Georgia fan, you've been to a bunch of Georgia games. I know the answer to this because I've asked you this, but what's the best Georgia game that you've ever been to?
The best one was definitely Georgia-Ohio State back in 22, going to the national championship. I was right there in the Ohio State section watching that field goal go wide left, and all the Ohio State people just started shutting up, and it was one of the funniest experiences, one of the greatest experiences I've had.
Now, I guess, there's probably a slightly different perspective now. Like when you're at that game, it's a big game, you're a huge fan. Your perspective's probably changed a little bit this year now that you've been part of you're part of it. You're part of the team. You went to the Texas game. Like, where does that Texas game rank kind of in the lore for you with Georgia history?
It's definitely up there. watching us just dominate them in the second half and just play Georgia football. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, and it definitely was. It's one of my top five, definitely.
Zach, I wanted to ask you, as you know, considering you're at North Gwinnett, it's always fun when we get to talk to current players. You know, there's so many guys that are from different states, and they're going to say Texas is the best, and North Carolina, like high school football, is the best. I want you to tell me what it's like playing high school football in Georgia, and then specifically Gwinnett County, just how
Oh, for sure.
competitive.
Shout out
and just,
Gwinnett County. Shout out Gwinnett County.
Yeah, it's super competitive. Every week is it matters. There's elite teams in Gwinnett County, and I mean overall in Georgia too. You got Carrollton being the number one in the country right now, and you got Buford top five, and Grayson not far off, but that's two teams that are in Gwinnett County. It just shows how elite this county is and this state is. I think in high school football.
Remind me how bad y'all beat Peachtree Ridge this year?
It was probably, I think it was like 45-13, 45, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well,
yeah, Ben, my dad went to Berkmore, and I usually just check the basketball scores. That's usually more productive.
Yeah, that's definitely the right way to go.
I do want to ask just about the relationship that you've built with some of these other guys on the offensive line in this 2026 class. I know you and Graham Houston go way back. Obviously, Zyke Helton, y'all are going to be facing off against each other. He plays a little defensive line, so y'all might actually have some one-on-one matchups on Friday. But what's it been like sort of building with this offensive line group?
Yeah, it's been awesome. All the guys are super cool, super great guys. Obviously I'm closer with Graham than the other two just because I see Graham more, or the other three. But we just got Tyreek, and I've known him since the Georgia League Classic back in freshman year, so we kind of go a little bit back. And then I mean, these guys are awesome. I can't wait to look left and right and see them at my side at Georgia. It's going to be a great experience for sure.
Tell the folks who don't know about Tyreek, since he's a new commit for Georgia, like what are they getting?
They're getting a dog. He's awesome. He's super long. He's pretty athletic for his size. He's good size. But yeah, he's a dog, and what I see in him is he's going to be really good for Georgia.
Now, you and Graham, y'all have been training together at times throughout your high school career. Like, how much have y'all worked together?
We've worked a good bit. We do have separate trainers, but lately we've been talking a lot, and kind of working out with each other a little bit more, and just getting in that mindset because I think we are going to room with each other at Georgia, so that would be awesome. Just having him there as well. It's been awesome, and definitely going to be my lift mate when we get to Georgia for sure.
For sure. We've been doing this with everyone. We know that signing day was a big day for you. We know it's a big day for a lot of people that helped you get there. Kind of give the shout outs. Who all would you say is helped you get to this point today?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I'd like to shout out my family, my mom and dad. Without them, none of this would have been possible. Obviously, shout out my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because, he opened all these doors for me. And then I want to shout out, Coach Godfrey, Coach Johnson, Coach Luke back at North Gwinnett, all those guys that had me in the weight room, getting my correct steps down at practices. I also want to thank my dad again because he coached me up when I was younger. I want to thank Coach Javon, who coached me throughout middle school. He helped me transition through middle school to high school, as well as Coach Frazier. Obviously, thank all the other coaches that I've had in my life, and all the rest of my family that I didn't mention. But
no doubt. Will you be enrolling early at Georgia?
Yes, sir. We'll do.
Okay, awesome. I'm not going to hold you to a Carrollton North Gwinnett score prediction, but I am going to hold you to a Georgia Alabama score prediction. SEC championship game on Saturday. What happens?
I was watching Valden, and it's that revenge game, man. They got us one time, but we gonna get it back, like we did back in 2021. Lost the SEC championship, but we came back and won the Natty. That's what matters. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're gonna come in, and I think we're gonna play Georgia football. We got to score. We got to keep them from scoring. But score prediction wise, I think it's going to be close, but I think we're going to get them. I think it's going to be 28-24. That's my prediction.
I like that pick. Maybe a little more reasonable than Valden's 100-0. Maybe a little more reasonable than Preston Kerry's 80-0. But who knows? Can't rule anything out. Zach, best of luck tomorrow against Carrollton. I hope that you're able to give Zyke a few little cheap shots here and there where you can. But best of luck in that game tomorrow. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. I feel like this next dude was at more Georgia games this season than Kirby Smart, which makes no sense to me since he lives in Ohio right now. But another blue chip tight end for Todd Hartley and company out of Lexington High School in Mansfield, Ohio. Braden Fogle, welcome to the show.
Yo, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got us?
I can't hear you. Hold on.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
I can't hear.
This will give me a second to breathe, and I'm actually gonna remove this Swedish jersey as well. Sorry, Valden.
I don't know what's wrong.
No, you're all good. We got time. This isn't a like I said earlier.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
All right, one sec. Here, let's do this. We're flying by the seat of our pants.
I'm gonna leave and join back. All right.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I gotta say, Ben, we've done a pretty good job to be an hour and a half in, and almost 2 hours in, and we really haven't run into anything. So that's not bad.
Braden's doing me a favor. I needed some breathing room right now. So for everyone,
I was really hoping you were going to keep the jersey on. I'll be honest.
I'll use this opportunity for everybody that is watching or listening after the fact. Please go subscribe to dogs247.com. We greatly appreciate you. I'm going to run that intro back. Well, let's see. Braden, can you hear us?
I can. Yeah, I can. I can hear you now.
All right, I'm going to give you your intro, though, because you deserve to hear your intro.
Okay.
I feel like this dude was at more Georgia games this season than Kirby Smart, which feels impossible given that he's out of state. But that's how much this dude loves the University of Georgia. It is another blue chip tight end for Todd Hartley and company out of Lexington in Mansfield, Ohio. Braden Fogle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
I'll start there. It does feel like you were at Georgia games every single week, even though you're from Ohio.
Yep.
Why'd you want to be there every week?
Bro, best environment in the country, and it's so exciting getting to watch, your future, what's coming up for you, being at all the games and being around the people, and it's just, there's nothing I would rather do with my free time than be able to go do that, and it's just such a great feeling being around in Athens,
What would you say is the number one reason why you ended up a Georgia Bulldog when it was all said and done?
Man, I don't know if I can put my finger on that one. There's so many great reasons. Winning championships, that's just what they're known for right now. And the people there are second to none. You're not going there just to play football. They're embracing you it's a brotherhood, and I really like that. And obviously their coaching, their standards, you're going to be the best version of you, if that makes sense. And I kind of was drawn to that, knowing I'm not going to be settling for anything less than the best, if that makes sense.
No doubt about it. And I want to ask this, as well as anyone, Georgia recruits the tight end position better than anybody in the country. Todd Hartley does a better job at it than anybody in the country. What is the magic of Todd Hartley that allows everyone to want to keep coming and play tight end at Georgia?
Coach Hartley's an awesome guy. I love Coach Hartley. Obviously, you can see the products that he puts on the field. And, it's not just him. It's the whole staff, right? Everyone contributes. And something about the consistency at what he does and the products that he puts out there was super appealing. On top of the fact that, like I said, the team wins championships, the environment's great, the people are amazing, and he's just a great dude. He cares for you outside of football. And I think that all those things combined makes it easy for people to say yes to Georgia, especially for tight ends.
I'm going to gas you up for a second, Braden. You obviously, it goes without saying, you're a tight end that's signing with the University of Georgia. Everybody should know that means something. But just looking at what you've done in your high school career, you're obviously first team, all state, all region, all district, all of those teams. But some of the records that you set at your high school: most receptions in a game, most receptions in a season, most receptions in a career, most consecutive games with a reception, most receiving yards in a game, most receiving yards in a season, most receiving yards in a career, most touchdown receptions in a career. Tell the people, when you got a track record like that, what kind of game are you bringing to the tight end room at Georgia?
I mean, I'm trying to bring a lot of versatility. I think I'm a pretty good athlete, and the thing about me though is I know how much better that I can be, and I'm excited and hungry to learn, like to follow the footsteps of all the great tight ends that have come before me, and do it in my own way, if that makes sense. Like I'm blessed with such a great opportunity to get so much like just coaching and teaching and learning. Like I got to just make sure I take like full advantage of this opportunity, and I think I'll be set, you know?
For sure. Braden, congratulations on signing. I wanted to
Thank you.
ask you, you talk about the competition level at Georgia and just how much we talk about the tight end room every single year and we go, man, they are so deep. How are they doing this? But just tell me about how excited you are for the competition level to have to fight every day just to get on the field.
I think it goes beyond that. I think it's the whole team. Like we recruit the best, we coach the best, we have the best coaches. And from top to bottom, there's not many programs that can match what we have. And another thing that was super appealing to me was day in and day out, I'm going to be going against guys every day that are going to be better than a lot of the guys that I see on Saturdays. And that's just like you got to have a competitor's mentality, like attacking each day and knowing if I can perfect this and complete my reps in practice how they're supposed to be completed, the games are going to be easy. And that's what you hear a lot of guys at Georgia talking about, like practices are going to be harder than the games. And I think that that's a great thing. There will be nothing that I'm not prepared for, and that'll be due to the competition that I'm seeing every day and what I'm being asked to do, you know?
We had Nick Abrams on the show earlier, and he said that there's sort of this out-of-state group, you, him, Elijah Littlejohn, and then I guess Caden Prothrose kind of worked his way into being the in-state guy in the group. That's kind of this, y'all are going to room together. What's been the relationship building process with that group, and why do you feel like y'all have gravitated towards one another?
I think we're all just like, we just like to have a good time. We're all outspoken, and like there's no like sort of animosity. Like we're all excited to get this opportunity together, and we know that we have the potential to be something great. Like I think that's what it's about, is like I said earlier, that brotherhood of just coming together. And I feel like you play your best football, and the best football teams aren't just teammates, they're like brothers together, and you're more willing to go out and fight and give everything you got for kids that are your brothers than just kids that you play football with, if that makes sense. So
Braden, I'm always interested when we talk to guys who are out of state because, you know, a lot of the in-state guys, hey, I grew up watching Georgia. I always wanted to be a Bulldog. When was Georgia first kind of on your radar? And when did you first kind of know, like, hey, that might be cool to wind up at Georgia one day?
Really? I've always loved Georgia. I went there, I camped last summer, not this summer, but I guess it would be 2 summers ago now, and I really liked it. But honestly, it was before that. I was at a basketball workout because I was a big basketball player back then, and I get back from my workout and I see a text message. I get a text message that says, "This is Todd Hartley from the University of Georgia." And I talked to Todd, Coach Hartley, for like an hour that day. But ever since that moment, and I knew that there was a chance that I would have the opportunity to go and do this, it's been like a dream to me. Like that same day I went home and watched a bunch of stuff on YouTube and the old games and the history of UJ football and what it's about. And ever since then, it's been something that I've really wanted to be a part of, if that makes sense.
Braden, I know yesterday was a big day for you, your family, but for you to get to this point where you're going to be enrolling at the University of Georgia, who are all the people that you'd like to shout out for helping you along?
There's so many. Most importantly, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Wouldn't be anywhere without him. And then obviously my mom and my stepdad, they have done so much for me. It's as most parents do for their kids, especially all the sacrifices they make in order to help me achieve my dreams. And even when I don't like it, staying on me about things that I have to make sure I get done. And then my grandparents, especially my grandpa, growing up, took me to every practice, every game, picked me up and take me to school at 7 a.m. And I got my uncles and some of my friends and my family friends that it's hard to talk about or put into words, the gratitude that you have for these people that help make you into who you are right now. Like it's like you can't be more thankful for it. And there's so many people that I could shout out, all the coaches that I've had, but really just everyone that's a part of this community has helped mold me into the person I am today.
All right. The moment of truth. I've been asking every single guy that's been on today, and I'm not sure if you heard me ask who was on right before you, but Georgia plays a big game on Saturday against Alabama, a big redemption game. What's your score prediction in the SEC championship game?
Oh, let's go. I think we get them this time. I don't see us losing twice to them in the same year. It's tough. I think I'll say 31-24.
Okay. I like that. I like the reasoning. I like the logic. I like the poise with which you delivered that prediction. So I don't know. There's something more than anybody else that I've heard today. I feel like there's something to that prediction.
Yeah. I think it'll be pretty close. We both got pretty good offenses, so and yeah, I think our run game's just a little bit better than theirs. That's just set us apart.
Cool. Do you know when you're going to be getting to Athens yet?
I do not. I still got to figure that out. Do my schoolwork and all that. So.
Will you be an early enrollee?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be early enrolling. It'll either be like sometime before Christmas or early January.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, once again, thank you for joining. Appreciate you for being a part of this, letting me be a part of your journey, and also congratulations on yesterday. I know it was a lot of work paid off.
Yep. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Braden.
Yep.
All right, Jordan. I think we're about to have a little bit of breathing room here for a second, but I think there are a couple other guys that are still going to be joining. We were kind of, for anyone that was watching live, if you're listening after the fact, ignore what I'm about to say. If you're watching live, you might have seen me looking down from time to time. I'm trying to do some like behind the scenes producing, setting up, things along the way. But for starters, I just want to give just a quick shout out to everyone that we've had come through so far. Kaden Harris, Nick Abrams, Kamari Brooks, Carter Lucky, Preston Kerry, AJ Lunnan, Valden Stone, Zack Lewis, and Braden Fogle. Everyone has been spectacular, as I knew that they would be. We really appreciate you all joining so far on this show. Jordan, what have you thought about everything so far?
It's been fantastic, and I'll be honest, Ben, I was a little nervous going into this show because of how well I thought it went last year, and it was like, oh man, there's no way we can even match what we did last year, and I honestly think we have. And it's a credit to the guys. They've all been great. I mean, they've all been timely, man. If you would have told me, like, if I was like 17, 18 years old, like, hey, you got to get on this and you got to get on it right at this time, there's a good chance like 3 hours later I would have been like, oh man, like I just totally forgot. And they've all done a great job, and I don't, anyone who has been late or hadn't been able to make it, man, I don't blame them. This is a very busy time of year, especially, talking to guys. Shout out the guys like Zack Lewis who are still getting ready. Their teams are still fighting for a state championship. But again, not only for everyone who has shown up, but I would be honest about this if I didn't feel this way. Everybody's been so good. They've done a great job talking and getting their point across. It's been fun. I hope the people watching, the people who have listened, have enjoyed it as much as I know you and I have.
All right. I think we saved a couple of the best. I mean, everybody's been great. I'm not picking favorites, but I think we saved some of the best two for last here. And the reason why I say that is because one of Georgia's big signing day commitments is here for us, a recent addition to the top 24/7 rankings in the 2026 recruiting class. He's 6'5". He's 315 pounds, out of Paulding County in Dallas, Georgia. Tyreek Jimson, welcome to the show.
What's good, everybody? Appreciate you guys for having me today.
Tyreek, I know you're probably tired of me. You saw me all morning yesterday, but now that you've had some time to decompress, I know your phone was probably going crazy because the media center didn't have the greatest reception, so you probably weren't even able to get all those messages until later on in the day. What's been the last 24 hours like, really realizing what happened yesterday?
Man, it's just been great. Just everyone's been supporting me. Just the great commitment of Georgia. All the coaches. It's been exciting. It's been more exciting. Me with the also other commits, the rest of the players. So it's just been exciting.
I know we wrote about it over on our site. So anybody who's go check that out. Tyreek gave some great answers as to why he ended up choosing Georgia. But if you were to give one reason, boil it down to why you signed with the University of Georgia, what was that reason?
Yeah, development for sure. development for sure. It's just the proof's in the pudding, man. Just development for the offensive lineman, honestly, any position, but just specifically the offensive lineman. They really develop offensive linemen here. They get them to the next level, the NFL, which is where I want to be someday. So I just feel like that's what's made me just want to commit.
I know talking to you and your family and coaches, like one thing that really impressed you all on the Georgia official visit was like the nutrition plan and the conditioning plan and what plan that they have in place for developing those offensive linemen. Like when you say development, what was Georgia able to showcase to you during your process to make you feel vindicated in that?
Yeah, just down on how they work. It just starts with, first of all, just a great coach, Coach Searles as well. Just a guy who's, first of all, just lived what we lived. He's played as an offensive lineman back in the day. So, and then kind of like you said, the development plan as far as like if you need to cut weight, gain weight, the nutrition plan. If you need to, eat a lot to gain a weight or, just slow down on eating habits just to lose weight. Just any way you need to get help, they can help you. And, just with an offensive line room like Coach Searles and Coach Edmond, guys who care, going to go over film or any way you need to get help and get better every day, it's just hard to fail.
Your offensive line coach at Paulding County, he told me a story that I wasn't totally familiar with the everything that you went through to get to where you're at now to be recruited the way that you are. And I know that, you were, I don't want to put a number on it, but were we saying flirting with 400 probably?
Yeah.
And you busted your ass, pardon my French, to get to where you're at today. What was that process like? What was it that motivated you? I mean, your coach would tell me that you'd show up to conditioning workouts hours early for team workouts in double hoodies, making sure that you were doing everything you needed to do to check your personal boxes because that was, going above and beyond what the team was expecting of you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So just like you said, I mean, just it got to start somewhere. And I feel like, it just got to start with you. So for me, I just took that upon myself, obviously, with my freshman year coaches, with me being overweight, a lot of high school coaches, they told me, it was like, man, you'll probably never make it. You're a big kid, but you'll probably never make it with, the things you're doing right now. And then I just kind of use that as like motivation. When people just saying I'll never make it, and I just use it to fire myself. So I know it started with losing weight, so I took that upon myself to do that first. Like you said, just showing up hours before original summer practice and team practices. That's I just feel like that's what set me apart. From other high school kids and kids on my team and just around me. I just feel like that's what set me apart. That extra work, because that extra work is gonna add up. Some people might think hey, he ran faster than me today. He had a better practice than me today. But as time goes on, let's say someone has 10 practices better than you. Well, now they're getting better than you. And that's just kind of how I took it as, just getting better every day and outworking my opponents. And, when I say opponents, I don't mean just my teammates or the guys in counties next to me, but I mean everybody in the country. So I want to outwork everybody in the country, specifically your offensive lineman or defense lineman. I want to beat you and, I want to work harder than you. So that's just kind of why it's still in my mind.
Tyreek, first off, congratulations on signing. To follow up on what you were just talking about, all that work to get to this point, just how much sweeter did that make Wednesday when you made it official and became a Bulldog?
Yeah, 100%, man. It just honestly like just a dream come true. It made me feel like everything that I've earned. I mean everything that I got, it was earned. And that's how I wanted to be. I don't want something given to me. I want to be able to earn it. So I remember Coach Searles, the first time he was recruiting me, since my freshman sophomore year, telling me, I need to trim up a little bit more weight and just get my body right. So I just feel like just everything I would just want to earn it, man. Just earning it, that's what matters to me. And yeah.
We had Zack Lewis on the show not too long ago. He's in this offensive line class. He said that y'all worked together at the Georgia Elite Classic, like way back in the day. Your freshman year, you've got Graham Houston in the class, Zyke Helton in the class, Ekene Egboko from out of state. I know it's fresh for you. Have you gotten a chance to get to know any of those guys, or have they, embraced you with open arms now that you're part of the O-line class?
Yeah, 100%. All of those dudes, they're just, first of all, just outside of their football ability, but they're just great people in general. I definitely know the guys in Georgia really well. I've played with two of them, Zach Keegan, Zach, like you said, in the Georgia League Classic, the All-American game or whatever it was called back then. But I played both of those dudes, and just let alone they're great players as well too. Like I said, just great people to be around. People who aren't gonna let you fail. like-minded people who are, wanting to work and want to outwork the next person. So, I just feel like who wouldn't want those kind of guys in your offensive line room?
Ben just went over a lot of those guys are Georgia guys. So what is it about these Georgia offensive linemen, man? What is it about these guys that get them ready to go play at UGA?
Yeah, man. I just feel like for me, just being first of all, just being a recruit in Georgia, and then let alone going to the University of Georgia, it just means something to me. Put on that jersey every time, every Saturday. Just you want to put it on not only for your family but for your state. For the high school you went to. So it means a little bit more to us Georgia guys. That are from here. Every game we take is personal. It's not just another game. We're playing for the University of Georgia, and this is personal for us. So that's why we play so nasty and physical, because it's personal to us.
All right, Tyreek, the obligatory final question that I've asked everyone. Georgia's got an SEC championship game on Saturday against Alabama. What's the score?
Man, I'm going to go 34-17 Dogs.
There you go. I like it. Nice, confident, precise, succinct. I love it. I will say this. I'll give you an opportunity here as well. I know that it was a big day for you yesterday. It was a big day for family. Just shout some folks out. Who helped you get to the point that you were yesterday where you were getting to see out that dream?
I was saying, all the glory goes to God. And that's just going to be every time. And anything I do successful, whether it's small or something big like this, all the glory is going to always go to God. Then my family as well. But as far as just from coaching the football perspective, I would definitely say Big Kev, offensive line trainer who took me in under the wing. When I was a sophomore, had a couple decent offers back then, but wasn't anything, just huge. And, he kind of gave me the recipe to get, that extra bit out of me and squeeze that extra potential out of me. And I really appreciate him for that. If he's watching or when he will watch us, Big Kev, I really do appreciate you. Coach Swin was another one my sophomore year. One of the coaches who helped me a lot. His brother actually played for Georgia State at defensive end, Kevin Swint. He was really good. Training with him in the summer, going against him. Getting live reps against, a dude who, went to NFL training camps. It just really got me better going against a dude who was just significantly better than me, making me better. Then you just my coaches here, man. Just Coach Hill. He took me on a lot of visits. Developed me a lot in many ways. He had a lot of college defensive line connects, so I went against them as well. Making me better as well. And then my offensive line coach just always pushing me. Jamoris White always pushing me every day in practice, working on things I could always critique and get better and better and better. And him also kind of just giving me that college treatment as far as because obviously I was pretty, as far as skill wise, better than the defensive line we had here. So, just the little things making them right, like making me go no hands and one-on-one pass rush to specifically work on my feet and get those better. Just the little things like that he taught me. That I feel like that just set me apart. So I appreciate all those guys.
Awesome, Tyreek. Well, I appreciate you. Congratulations again. Thank you for letting me be part of the experience yesterday as well. Do you know when you're getting to Athens yet?
I don't know yet. So I do got to talk to the coaches about that. But I think January 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but you will be an early enrollee, though.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again. Congratulations again for yesterday, and best of luck as you get to Athens.
Yes, sir. You already know. Go Dogs.
All right. We have one more. And like I said, we weren't saving the best two for last per se, but we were saving the two biggest pieces of news from the day yesterday for last. Not necessarily intentionally. It just worked out perfectly like that. And so as of this show, Georgia's most recent commitment in the 2026 class, one-time Clemson commit. Georgia beat out Miami and Vanderbilt on signing day. My words, not our scouting team's words, but I am taking a direct shot at our scouting team. One of the most underrated players in the country in the 2026 class, out of Woodward Academy in Atlanta, Georgia, Blake Stewart. I don't know if you've got a camera or not. It's okay if not, but welcome to the show.
What's going on?
So I know, look, I feel like you're, like I just said to Tyreek, you're probably tired of having to see me after spending time with me yesterday as well. But what's it been like for you kind of getting all of that behind you yesterday and kind of waking up this morning a Georgia Bulldog?
Oh, no, it's been very exciting, just really blessed. Just thank God for the opportunity that he gave me and just being able to really just commit to Georgia and just be a dog.
What would you say is the number one reason when it was all said and done why Georgia won out over everyone else?
Really just the high level coaching, I could say, and just being on that level of game really, I transferred to Woodward really to play against better players, and you don't play nothing but the best at Georgia in practice and in game, really. So yeah.
I know we talked yesterday about the conversation that you had with Kirby Smart earlier in the week. And I'm not talking about the one where you called him to commit to him, but when he was kind of giving his final pitches, explaining where he felt you fit in the near future in Athens, what went into that conversation that helped make you feel comfortable signing with Georgia on Wednesday?
Really just him saying that a lot of the safeties next year are going to be leaving, and the room is wide open for me to just come in and compete and be able to play. So I definitely say that.
Blake, congratulations on signing. I just want to ask, what have the last 48 hours, 72 hours been like as you were making that decision? Just how hectic has this week been?
Oh no, my phone was definitely blowing up every second. I know signing day it started at 6 a.m. Really, phone blowing up. So yeah, but it's now all over really. So I'm happy.
Do we want to talk about the early post from Georgia's social media team, or do we want to pretend that never happened, or what?
Oh no, pretend it never happened.
Okay, it never happened. It never happened. I was there when you committed. I was there. I saw it. I've got the video of it. I witnessed it with my own 2 eyes. Nothing ever happened before that, but I'm glad you've got good spirits about that one. But you mentioned the opportunity to play early on. And we've seen Malachi Starks come in and play in year one. We've seen KJ Bolden come in and play in year one. I feel like more now than ever, young defensive backs are getting opportunities at Georgia. How important would you say that was to the decision that you ended up making?
I definitely say it's important because, like I said before, it's high-level talent really, and the big stage. You're going to play against the best of the best SEC schools. So me just being able to, if I can, have the ability to just come in and play as a freshman, that put my name on a big stage and show that I could really ball out. So, yeah.
Speaking of KJ Bolden as well, and I did ask you about this yesterday, but I know he made the public, at Blake Stewart, come join us a couple of weeks ago. I know that that's probably not the reason you made the decision, but did he recruit you? Was he selling on you? What were y'all's conversations like throughout the process?
A little bit. He just told me how it was. He just kept it real, how it was down there, how you gonna have to work, earn everything really. So yeah, definitely that. And we play for the same 7-on-7 team, so I could definitely say that.
Now, I want to ask you this too. I mentioned it earlier, my words, not your words, but one of the most underrated players in the country. I feel like Georgia has 2 safeties in this class that I think are 2 of the most underrated players in the entire country, you and Tyreek Green. I'm assuming that you all know each other pretty well, but what's been the communication like with you and Tyreek and just other members of the Georgia defensive back class in 2026?
Oh yeah, we were all excited, and really just all of us being ready to just come in and play, knowing that we can all make an impact early. And then that bond definitely going to be there for sure, just being there. So I'll definitely say that.
Blake, I was talking to Tyreek about this a few minutes ago about the offensive lineman, the Georgia in-state offensive lineman, and just what it takes to play that position and then go to Georgia. I want to ask about defensive backs, man. Georgia's had a lot of luck and a lot of success getting guys who are from the state of Georgia and getting them in and those guys being stars. What do you think it is about playing that position, being a defensive back, that in high school that sets you guys up for success once you get to Georgia?
I would probably really just say just them producing every year. They kind of shows that they have great coaching, and Kirby just knows what he's doing, just teaching the DBs himself, actually being in the meetings, Coach T-Rob also helping. And it really just shows that the grind that they put in, they actually work for it. They just really want it and reach their final goals to get into the NFL.
For you, I mean, again, like I said, my words about how great of a player you are, but tell the people, when you come to Georgia and you're playing safety, what are you bringing to Georgia's defensive back room?
Oh, yeah, I'm bringing a physical DB, a DB that can shut off one side of the field if he's needed to, go cover somebody, go tackle somebody. Even if I get a chance in return game, go do that. So, yeah, he definitely getting the dog for sure. So, yeah.
I was going to ask that. I mean, I've seen the return game. I've seen you at receiver. Has there been any getting their ear about that earlier so that you can make sure that you let them know that's an area that you definitely want to stay in?
Nah, really. I really just want to play DB really at that level, but them just showing that me showing them that I can play receiver shows them that I got good ball skills. So that definitely helps.
I did want to ask this, and this is more for people that are younger than you that are listening to this. I'm so impressed by you because the first time that we ever talked was after your sophomore season, and you had torn your ACL and you still had some offers, but there wasn't a ton of film out there, and you knew that it was going to be a journey to make sure people, like, to put the film out there for these teams to appreciate what kind of player that you are. How would you describe to like your younger self, like what mindset you should have to be able to get to the point that you've gotten to? Now, you obviously already had it, but what advice would you give to others in terms of how to overcome some of those early high school challenges?
Sophomore year, I was just ineligible. I didn't get hurt.
Oh, I don't know why I thought you were injured.
Oh, no, I was just ineligible from transferring.
Okay,
But,
well,
yeah.
either way, you got a chance to showcase it your second half of your high school career. Like, what was that like?
Really, I'll just say, bro, really telling the younger people, just keep your trust in God, really, and just believing in yourself, just knowing you can. With me coming into Woolworth, knowing that they had like high level talent and them playing good players, I just knew how to come in and work, keep my head down, and just not let that moment and situation, that test that God gave me, just take the most of it, really. So I'll definitely say that. Just keep working, keep grinding, and then even the players on the team that are already there, them just welcoming me in, like the family, and then us just going to train really when we can. So yeah.
Let the record show ACLs are 100% all good. Completely fake news over here for me. So let's set the record straight on that. All right, Blake. I've been asking everybody. Georgia's got a big game on Saturday.
Mhm.
They're playing Alabama. You know, I know you haven't been committed to Georgia for long, but I know you know what that means. Georgia playing Alabama. What's your prediction for Saturday?
My prediction, I'll probably say 45-14, Georgia.
Okay,
Yeah, the
confident.
offense gonna show.
Immediate confidence from Georgia's newest commit, newest signee. I think everybody is gonna love to hear that one.
Oh yeah, yes sir.
All right, Blake. I appreciate you for everything. I appreciate you for joining the show. I appreciate you for letting me be part of your experience yesterday as well. You'll be an early enrollee, correct?
Yes sir.
Do you know when you're getting to Athens yet, or still got to figure that out?
I think January 8th is move-in day, so probably somewhere around there.
All right. Well, best of luck. You know, thank you again, and congratulations, most of all, for getting things done yesterday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Jordan, I had to mute your mic because I'm getting some bounce back. So I'm going to mute you again and hope that you might be able to figure it out while I'm yapping on things. But if not, that's okay. I can close the show out on my own.
I was just going to say that, I have to stay muted because we've done such a long show. My AirPods died, so it's just picking up the feedback from the mic. Brain wasn't thinking, but I'll stay muted as you get us out of here.
Yeah, well, I had to tell the people, and conveniently, everyone, Jordan all of a sudden can't seem to hear the show properly as I'm about to give the final results for Predict to Commit from the entire year. I can't believe he's been perfectly fine for 2.5 hours, and now he's about to hear the end results. And look, you know, that's what you can come to expect from Jordan. But one, I want to say, Jordan, really impressed by both of us, what we were able to do with the Predict to Commit throughout the year. I thought that we had a lot of hits. There were very few that slipped through the cracks. I was really, it's my full-time gig to cover Georgia recruiting. That's what I do. I'm obviously in the weeds on it. You do as good of a job as anyone covering football, covering basketball. So I was asking you to do something that you were uncomfortable with this game. And man, you made me sweat this thing throughout the course of this year. Jordan finishes the year with a Predict to Commit list of 12. That was Carter Lucky, Jordan Smith, Kamari Brooks, Craig Dandridge, PJ Dean, Caden Prothrow, Braden Fogle, Elijah Littlejohn, and Terrence Pinnock. You had 3 others that did not end up signing with Georgia, but you got their commits correctly along the way, so I will count that towards the Predict to Commit game. That was Jared Curtis, which was your very first pick, so I'm sorry that went the way that it did. Shadarius Tootle, and then James Johnson, who ended up at Texas. I finished with 14, so I beat you 14-12. I think that's, for you, I think you should be feeling pretty good about that. As a reminder, mine was Graham Houston, Zach Fort, Ryan Mosley, Justice Fitzpatrick, Zyke Helton, Ekene Egboko, Jay Lamar, Chase Calicut, Valden Stone, Nick Abrams, Tyreek Green, Tyreek Jimson, and Blake Stewart, the only one of those that did not sign for me was Corey Howard, who ended up at Alabama. I did do a predict a signee composite score. So I put our final composite scores together, Jordan. I finished with 13 signees and a composite score of 228.98. You finished with 9 signees and a composite score of 183.99. All in all, 22 signees to come from our predict to commit list. I think that is a lot. A few happened before we started playing this game. And then I think Preston Kerry, Zack Lewis, Anthony Lunnan, and Kaden Harris, who all 4 of those guys were on the show today, now that I think about it, somehow slipped through the cracks for us. But otherwise, I think we did a pretty good job. Someone in the comment section does point out, asking if Chase Calicut signed. That is a good distinction. He has not signed yet, but I still think that there is a high possibility that he does. So technically speaking, that could impact my predicted signee composite score. Good call out.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased, especially for myself, because I loved the idea. Ben, you deserve a ton of credit for coming up with this idea. And it was one of those, was like, yeah, I'd be down to do that. And then it was like a day later, I was like, oh my God, Ben's going to destroy me. Like, this is Ben's job. I don't really know, what's going to happen. And I'll give you this. Late in the cycle, you were very helpful. You helped me out a little bit. Hey, shout out Kip Adams. He subbed in. I never told you, Ben, but we had a call once a week where we sat down, we read throughout the 24/7 Sports Network. We were getting intel. We were calling coaches like, look, we're not reporting this. We're building a team. And so we really worked really hard to make it happen. But no, I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone who watched and listened to it throughout the year really enjoyed it. And really my question has been, when do we start predicting commits for the 27 cycle?
I had that thought. I mean, now that signing day is about to be come and gone and Georgia's about to get through its SEC championship game, like, if Georgia knows certain guys in the 2027 class that they want already, they're going to be pushing for them sooner rather than later. So I don't know when we're going to do it. I mean, the most logical time frame from a recruiting standpoint would probably be once they get into junior days in January. I'm not sure exactly what that schedule's going to look like, obviously, without knowing what the playoff run looks like. But yeah, the class of 2027 predicted commits right around the corner. All right, everybody who watched, everybody who listened, whether it was live, whether it was after the fact, I want to extend a sincere amount of gratitude for following along with us over at Dogs 24/7 for the 2026 recruiting cycle. If you're subscribed over at dogs247.com, we appreciate you. If not, if you enjoyed this show, please go join us over there at dogs247.com. We cover these guys all year long. The people that are going to be the names and faces that you need to know wearing red and black. We tell their stories all year long. And because of that, it puts us in a position to be able to give you a signing day show like this one. I've got to give a thank you to Kaden Harris, Blake Stewart, Nick Abrams, Kamari Brooks, Carter Lucky, Preston Kerry, AJ Lunnan, Valden Stone, Zack Lewis, Braden Fogle, Tyreek Jimson. Thank you so much for joining the show. I know that there were some other guys, and I'm not going to call them out so that people aren't saying like, oh, why didn't you join the show? There were other guys that really wanted to be here, and whether it be travel or things going on, it's the day after signing day. Lincoln Keys, one of the first guests that we've ever had, is on a cruise right now. He was going to try and find a way to join this show. I said, you do not leave your vacation to come on this show. It is not that important. So to all of you that have been part of this journey throughout the year, we thank you very, very much, and we hope that next year we'll be able to do something very similar.
I just wanted to shout this out. I'll put you on the spot here, Ben. What do the movies Inception, Paris, Texas, and The Shining all have in common?
Paris, Texas. I've never seen Paris, Texas. Inception, I watched for the first time. I don't know if I should admit this on camera. I'd never taken like Adderall before. I took it one time in my life. I took it the night before a big final. And then I got myself into watching Inception instead of studying. And then I researched the concept of Inception for 7 hours and didn't study for a test. And then what was the other one?
The Shining.
Oh, The Shining. I can't, I don't know. I have no idea.
So when I started to ask that question, the time we have been on this podcast was the exact runtime of those 3 movies. So if you were a trooper and watched or listened to this whole thing, you could have watched some really great movies instead. So sincerely, thank you for tuning in. But I also say to the point you just made, Ben, the guys were fantastic. And I'm always just a little nervous when you're getting these guys on because you don't know how good they're going to be, if they're going to give good answers. I'm being sincere. They were all fantastic. They all did a very good job, great answers. If you're a Georgia fan, man, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did because it was a very fun episode to do.
No doubt about it. And yeah, I would say, Jordan, if it was just the two of us and you watched this instead of Inception during this window, I would have said you guys need to be checked in somewhere. But because of everyone that joined the show, this was like you've said, like I've said, it's my favorite one that we do all season long because I think the Georgia fan gets an opportunity to know these guys in a way that just quite frankly, if we're being real, we're not going to hear from these dudes for 12, 18 plus months the way that Georgia handles the ability to do media. So like I said, if you have been wondering all year, what does Elijah Griffin look like? What kind of stuff does he say? Go watch last year's signing day show because we still haven't gotten a chance to talk to Elijah Griffin in the media yet at UGA, but he gave us an awesome interview last year at a year this time. So you can get some insights into who he is as well. And I know that the same thing is going to happen with all these guys that we add on here today. Jordan, thank you. I don't say that very often. I don't say it enough. But thank you very much. You did an awesome job with this show and helping me behind the scenes, getting everything coordinated as well. You even asked some good questions along the way, believe it or not. So, credit to you. And, I'm looking forward to doing this again next year.
Yeah, I had a blast. And with the questions, look, a broken clock is right twice a day. That's all I got to say.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right. For Jordan Hill, I'm Benjamin Wolk. This was the Junkyard Dawgcast signing day special, Stay Wolk edition, whatever we want to call it. It was an awesome time. I appreciate everyone for joining us. And whenever it is, probably, I guess, Saturday, talking about a Georgia-Alabama game, we will see y'all next time.